And here we are. Good morning, good afternoon, good night. I don't know where you are, but you're about to have fun. 3 days of fun. Three days of fun. It's Monday. It's tough. Yeah, we are going to have kind of an improv chat with a ton of instructors. And today we are going to be talking to Jodi McRaney-Rusho. Before we dive into that, just remember, we are live and you have a chat box beside you, meaning that if you write on that chat box and you put Jodi first and you want to know something, and today's free game, right? We can talk about anything. Almost.
Wow.
Just put on that chat box and I'll get here, ask her, and she will answer to you. Also, remember to tell your friends, hey, we are going to spend a couple of hours just having fun, looking at some sneak peeks of courses, and I have a very cool documentary to show you in a little bit, so you're really going to enjoy that. So let's welcome Jodi McRaney-Rusho. Thank you for being here on a cold Monday morning.
I know it is kind of brisk today.
You're right. Yeah.
I got to see the sunrise for the first time in weeks, so that's something.
I was driving here and I was thinking, okay, we melt the whole summer in the studio. Now we are on the phase that we freeze in the studio the whole summer, the whole winter.
A sweater.
Yeah. I remember. You already know that.
Right?
So, first of all, would you like to know the countries that are watching you right away? And they all can ask questions to you today.
Okay.
Okay.
Bring it.
So, we have US, UK, Canada, Philippines, Netherlands, Argentina, Sweden, Estonia, France, Romania, Santa Lucia, Germany, Ireland, and Switzerland with us.
Wow.
Wow. Cool,
awesome.
Cool.
Good morning, everyone. Or afternoon. Or wherever.
Night. Yeah.
That too.
So today, our chat will be kind of an improv, and people will guide us where they want to be. But basically, is glass talk most of the time, and Jodi talk about. We want to know more about Jodi, and we have prepared a few things to show them.
Cool.
So I'm going to start with my most intelligent question.
Okay.
What's up?
What's up, Doc? Well, you know, this is sort of the start of the busy season for artists. You know that, right? So we're gearing up for open studios and classes and shows. But the most exciting thing is, yesterday I fired Vanna for the second time.
Who is fired, not fired.
Not fired.
So, you're downsizing.
No. So this is my new kiln. So we have Vera, who is the big kiln that I've always had, and then Vanna, who is the new one. She's older, but she still looks great. That's why her name is Vanna. So I fired the new kiln yesterday, and that is actually very exciting.
Nice.
So
why is that exciting?
Why is that exciting? Because I can. It was exciting because it has a viewer window in the side of the kiln. So for the first time, I've gotten to actually watch things happen in the kiln, which is exciting. Usually you just come back and hope it's working. So this time I got to actually look in there and go, I hope it's working.
So you could actually see, I mean, you were talking about the piece that Nick created, how cool it was. But what's exciting, because you know it's hot in there.
Because I can? I don't know, it's just exciting. It's like a new toy.
Bree wants to know, Jodi, how are you liking your new studio? That was you went to in-home studio to a real one, right?
I did, and so I went from an in-home studio to a small commercial space, and then moved from that. I was there for a couple years during the pandemic, and then I moved to a much larger commercial space, like 4 times bigger.
Was that scary?
It is still scary. Because my rent is a mortgage payment, and that's a big
commitment.
You go from, when you have a home studio, if sales are down, you're like, I'll just do some canning or something, right? There's always something else to do, but when you have that giant payment, and it's not small, it is a lot of money, and there's no rest. As you know.
I do. And let's say there is no sleep, actually.
There is no sleep, yes.
Because you have 20 days, actually, if you think.
Yeah.
You always have like 20 days to make it happen.
Yes.
That is the Monday to Friday thing. And when things are not looking good outside, you also have to work extra to make sure whatever comes next, you're prepared for that.
Yes.
So I see. So what are the things that you do in that studio besides firing the kilns?
The kilns. Oh gosh. Well, it's actually changed quite a bit since we had the documentary. We shot that little documentary in the shop, but
I would say about a year ago, maybe.
Probably, yeah, I think
Yeah.
so. And it's gotten much fuller of stuff since then. So I have one area that is dedicated ceramics, and so I do mold making there. And in exciting news, my slab roller showed up this week. So a slab roller is a thing you can it's like polymer clay, right? That you put through.
Oh, okay.
Except it's big.
Uh-huh.
It's table size, right? So that showed up today. And the reason that's exciting is I ordered it 14 weeks ago,
Uh-huh.
and I forgot about it.
Ooh.
And then it showed up, and I was like, what did I buy?
So with polymer clay is a flexible thing that you go through.
Mm-hmm.
What do you put through this roller?
So you cut blocks of clay, and you put them
Oh, so
in-
it is for clay.
It is for clay, but it's for ceramic, like
Okay.
fired clay. So you cut blocks and you put it in a canvas folder thing and you feed it through and you crank it.
Uh-huh.
But so that is actually going to, I have been planning, ruminating, considering a bunch of sculptural shapes.
Oh.
But I needed this tool to
be able to do it.
to be able to get there. So now I'm going to be doing a lot more textures with this, and anyway. It's exciting to me. I'm excited about it. So there's the ceramics. Then I also have a tool time area that has all my woodworking tools and metalworking tools. Because, why limit yourself to just glass?
Right.
There's always some other thing you
There's
gotta
another
do.
machine over there that we need to
Yeah,
buy.
there's
Yes.
always another machine, and then now I have 3 kilns, a ceramic and 2 big glass kilns, and I have work tables, and the work tables are going to have to be reorganized because I have a group of kids coming in December, a homeschooling group that has potentially up to 100 kids and their parents.
Oh gosh. Okay.
Not at the same time.
Uh-huh.
We're going to stage them in groups, but so I have to prepare, which means I also have to find more folding chairs, find somewhere to store more folding chairs.
Yeah, I know.
This is this.
It's never ending.
It is never
How
ending.
many people work in your space?
Right now, just me and my assistant Laura,
Uh-huh.
who is going to be at the studio when I get there today. So
Nice.
yeah,
Good
so,
idea.
Yes. So Laura is. She's been with me a couple years, and she's quite skilled. I am very appreciative. So Laura does a lot of things like she helps me do production work. She helps pack orders. This kind of, when there's just high volumes of things.
So when you
to
were
do.
working from home, of course, it was you most of the time. You had the
would,
help
yeah.
of your daughter. But how easy or difficult it was to have somebody else working with you?
Well, having somebody work with me was fine. It was doing all of the, because as you know, artists are not always great at accounting and things. So having someone there's 2 things there. Having someone in the space is both easier and a little bit more difficult because you have to be organized enough to be at a stage where someone can help you. Right? So you have to say, today we need to make 12 dozen stars, but that means you have to know where the glass is, you have to have space, an empty table, you have to have somewhere to put the stars when they're glued together before they go in the kiln. So there's all this prep work that you have to do in advance before you can have someone help you. But the more difficult part for me was dealing with all of the government restrictions and
For your
payroll
industry.
taxes
Oh, yes.
and all this.
It's still, yeah. No, not fun.
No, it made me just.
And then comes, like for us, for example, we are into a busy moment here, and then something comes on Friday. Oh, you have to redo the work comp, whatever.
Yeah.
And what you think is, oh my gosh, I have to stop everything that I need to do to pay attention to this that was not a priority until this moment. So that gets in the way pretty
workman's
fast.
compensation is something.
Everything is, that's what people don't realize when they decide to take that step into a more professional, it's not more professional, that's a bad word, but more structured kind of business,
more
is
structured.
all the other things that you do hate to do, but you still have to. And I asked about how it was with starting with a new person, because, for example, for us, when we transitioned from consulting to live streaming, outsourcing, no, delegating was a challenge, because you always think, I can do fast, I can do better, I don't have to train anybody. The training kinds of consumes a lot of time, right?
Well, it does, and you have to learn how to do that too, because you can say, we're going to make stars today, but do you know what that means?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So instead you have to work backwards through the whole process until you figure out what the steps are. And it does help. Having taught a lot of classes helps, because I've already had to learn how to do that, to walk backwards through the steps of things. Yeah. And you learn very quickly that what your vision is for something is not ever what anybody else thinks it is. Yeah, true. And it's not,
a learning curve.
Yeah.
Today I couldn't live without a team, but at the beginning I think is a challenge.
It is a challenge. And the other thing that I have to remember is it's a different headspace. It's a different headspace when you are doing your own artwork in a purely creative mode versus when you are accomplishing things with a team, right?
Yes.
Right? So
with an end result. You will have to sell whatever you're producing later.
Or packing orders or something, right? It's a different headspace than making polar bear snow globes, which is what I did yesterday all by myself, and it was marvelous.
Then you would,
right?
Polar bear.
The polar bear.
Suzanne is asking, so what do you do if you see it is not working? Question from a non-glass person. I think at the beginning we were saying that.
Oh, I don't know. I'm not sure about that. I actually ask myself that too, because I'm looking through that little window and going, woo, everything's working, but what do I do if it doesn't work?
Yeah.
And I'm not, I could see that the pieces that were bending, but the pieces that were flat on the shelf were just glowing. I couldn't tell if they were working or not. But that is a good question. I would probably do the same thing that I always do, which is open it the next day and go, yeah, that's going to go back in, because I know that you can reprogram your kiln mid-firing, but I've never done it.
How often it doesn't work?
Not as often now as it did in the beginning. In the beginning, nothing worked.
Right.
It was the first 3 years where nothing worked, not a single thing. So I just got to the point where I just took lots of notes and, just.
For most people, if you mention 3 years, nothing worked, they said, oh, I would give up way before that.
Way before that.
What kept you going then?
I am extremely stubborn. I'm extremely stubborn. It was a long time ago. Nobody was doing recycled glass, and someone told me I couldn't.
That's the best thing. That naughty person that says, you can't do that. It's not going to work. What?
A man told me I couldn't do it.
Then you have to prove it.
Then you have to do it. Yes.
They at the beginning, I remember one artist that he wrote me an email 24 pages long telling me all the reasons Curious Mondo would not work.
And here we are.
Yep. So almost 7 years later. So I love when that happens, because that gets that inner fighter inside you.
Yes.
Yeah, very cool. And Barbara Feltz is saying, when you get a new kiln, do you fill it for the first fire or just put a couple of things for a test?
I just put a couple things for a test. I was really nervous. So I slumped some votives for my first firing in the kiln. And I did that because they were things that were already made and needed to be dealt with, either thrown away or finished. And I figured if they work, they are finished, and if they don't work, they get thrown away. But so I always would do something I'm willing to have be ruined. I'd be okay with that. And I'm okay with things that don't work, because I guess I'm so excited when things do work that I'm like, yeah, well, okay. So one thing didn't work.
That's okay.
That's
One,
okay.
yeah, out of many.
Yeah.
So in any business, when you structure, you need, the ideal is that you have several forms of revenue. So
Yeah.
if one is not working, you have the other. So
Right.
for example, you make glass art and you
I
sell
do.
that in shows. You also, what else do? You give classes.
I do. I teach at Curious Mondo, of course,
And in
also
person?
in person.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
What else?
I make ceramic molds.
The
and
molds,
sell
yes.
those.
And you have products that you sell, products that are not glass made, but for glass artists.
Yes.
Okay,
And
that's
also
5. You reach
I know.
my good point.
And I also make stands and displays.
The stands and displays, that has been a thing for a couple of years now,
Yeah,
right? That
it has
they sell
been.
really well.
Yep.
So with classes, the very first one that you did here at Curious Mondo was the basic bottle glass, right? How long ago was that?
I think it was 5 years ago.
5 years ago.
Yes, and I have this great Shahar story of my very first class.
Oh, boy.
And I'm going to tell it because I think it's so funny. So it was probably December 5 years ago, and I was just thinking about online. It was very new, and I posted a thing on Facebook and said, glass friends who watch video classes, what is your preferred format? Just to see what was, And Marie Marshall, a mutual friend of ours, tagged Shahar on my post and said, you should talk to Shahar. And this is all on Facebook. I'd never met Shahar. So we connected via Facebook, and I went in to talk to Shahar on December 28th. And we had a great meeting, and we were super excited about the class. And Shahar says, so when is good for you? And I said, May would be spectacular. And Shahar said, see you on January 28th.
Yeah.
And
People complain about that.
when I taught my first class, January 28th.
Oh, boy,
with
that was
1
fun.
month
That was
of
fun.
prep. And I was so terrified.
I need to give Maria a hard time. You know that she's been my friend for, 14, 16 years. Very good friend. We go out, well, we haven't been since the pandemic, but we go out ever so often and stuff. She's been to the studio once before it was open, and she brought a bunch of cool little things like mirrors and stuff.
Uh-huh.
It was a bare place at the Little Mondo, and never been back. I'm gonna talk to her. Okay, so we were talking about classes. I want people to see how was your haircut on your very
goodness.
first
Yes, right?
course. So let's take a look at that.
So we're going to start with the rooster because it's about the same pattern, and this is my beautiful hand-drawn pattern. Your version is much nicer than this, but this is how I start with every animal.
That's very interesting. I was actually wondering, because I knew nothing about glass before we even started this.
Now you know
And-
everything.
Yes, and I was wondering, how do we use molds? I mean, not molds, patterns in glass work.
Oh,
But now it makes perfect
well,
sense.
you can do it two ways. You can print out the pattern and cut the pieces out and hold them on the glass and trace around them. Or you can do it this way, and it just depends on, if you're using really dark glass, of course you have to cut it out. But since I can see the pieces here, oh, so I have to show you this amazing color of bottle glass. This is all I have left, and it's one bottle that was beer from Africa.
Whoa.
And the bottle had been very well traveled, but I've never seen an orange this color before. So, of course,
You know,
we're
beyond
using
the
it.
coolness that it is, this glass work is, I think the story that comes with the glass also adds to it.
It does make it fun. And it is particularly fun when I get requests from people to make something like out of the champagne bottles from their wedding, or, it's a great thing to be able to do for people. All right, let's cut some glass, huh?
Let's do it. This has curves. So I'm curious about that.
This has so many curves. So I'm curious to see how many tries it will take me. So we're going to go for getting it right on one.
So I notice here that you're cutting, you're not necessarily outlining yet, right? In some cases?
Well, so
Tell me what you're doing.
Okay, with larger pieces of glass, sometimes it is easier to isolate the thing you want to cut out before you start cutting the details, because if you have an errant run, like for example, if I were trying to run this little score right here around the edge of the head and it went wrong, it could actually take out that whole side of the glass too. So this way, if I do go right down that center piece, I minimize the possibility of ruining the whole piece of glass. And this is true of art glass as well.
Just gives you a greater ability to maneuver around it.
Yes, it does. And it's much easier on these curved pieces. So this is a pretty tight curve right here, and so is this one right here. So what we're going to do on that is do it in 2 stages.
And Jenny asks, are you cutting 2 of each pattern piece?
Yes, because we're going to stack them up like this.
Okay, show us again, just so that you can see.
Okay, so
Like
we'll,
that.
right, and then the nichrome wire is going to go in between those two pieces of glass, which you'll see when I get there, but just the short version is glass with the wire in between. And then when the glass melts together, it captures that wire, and that's what makes us able to make it 3-dimensional, is because then we can bend that wire later. Okay.
Kim says, thank you for showing how to cut curves. Learning new things.
Well, let's see how well I do with it first, Kim. So I'm taking off the big pieces first, just doing the easy stuff. So here's a trick that I like to use when I'm doing things like this. Your running pliers apply equal pressure on both sides of the score, and I like to just maybe push down a little bit on the one side of particularly for a curve like that, because it encourages it to bend, or it encourages it to break the direction I want. Okay, here's the trick. You'll notice I'm using my running pliers as Grozier pliers because they have a nice flat.
The trick.
Ta-da!
The trick happened really fast.
The trick happened really fast, but luckily we have another one over there so we can do it again.
So you basically used a flat plier.
I did. I'm misusing my tools.
Okay. Cheryl asks, do you ever use a Taurus ring saw?
I don't. I have never even tried one. I would love to. When can I come over?
She's in the UK.
I'll be on my way next week. That would be super fun.
So you're basically going slowly around and just...
I'm taking off the big pieces first, and see when we did the other side, we cut this into 2 pieces so that we can take them off. Okay. All right, we're doing the magic thing again, right here. Okay.
So the magic essentially is...
It's just misusing a tool.
And then just...
Right, so bending and pulling away at the same time. And you can do the same thing with these pliers. In fact, that's what these pliers are for. But
This gives you a little more leverage.
it gives you more surface. I think it gives you more surface area, because on these pliers, it's only just right there.
Oh.
You can see it's just that they only touch right at the tip there. But if I'm misusing my running pliers, it has a lot of more surface area that grabs the glass. And if it will ruin my running pliers, don't tell me, okay? It hasn't so far, and I'm perfectly happy with it.
Barbara asks, if you happen to be in St. George, I have one you can try.
Oh, I will take you up on that. I don't go to St. George often, but it does happen. Okay, so there we go,
Oh, that's perfect.
right?
Here, let me show them.
Okay, and then I will
While
go
you
on
get
to
the
the
next
next
one.
one.
Do you ever cut yourself?
All the time. In fact, I cut myself yesterday during class and didn't even notice.
Really? I didn't notice that either.
So there you go. I have had only one injury that required stitches in
Good.
15 years. That's not
Wow,
bad.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
So here, once again, you're creating that separation so that you can easily then work with each piece.
Yes, exactly. And that division is going to be the first thing that I break, and then I will break all these around, edge pieces. So these are the wings that we're making now. And we need 4 wings because of that sandwiching the glass together will require, 4 pieces to make 2 wings.
I really enjoy looking at these flat pieces of glass. And
They're-
then knowing that they used to be round
They
bottles
used
or
to be
cylinder
round.
bottles.
What I find fascinating about the flat pieces of glass is when I'm not sure if you can see this on camera or not, but can you see the ripples? There are differences in thickness and swirls of color, and sometimes, particularly with dark green bottles, I find you get really variegated color, and it's really fascinating. You can see how the color swirled through in the factory.
Yeah, this is it from behind. It's really neat.
Okay. So this guy has on his wings, here, we'll put him down here so you can,
We'll use them as a reference.
we'll use him as reference and you can see, oh, so I did switch out. This is an example of that opaque glass that doesn't fuse very well. Oh, is he in the way?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's good.
He's good.
Just gonna move it.
Okay. So mixing this is red ice. So the patterns here, this is just a personal preference pattern. You can paint anything you want. He can be polka dot, he can be swirls. I do one cat with a henna tattoo pattern on it. So, go crazy with it. I find that the funkier the patterns are, the more people like them. So if you sell your work, think about that. That does make it a little more attractive. Okay. Where did our guy go? Oh, he has blue and green feathers. Blue. So I'll be painting his beak a different color. So I'm going to leave that blank for now. And also his eye, so we'll leave a little space for that. And we'll paint some feathers. Keeping in mind, roosters often have shiny neck feathers. I'll just paint some. Okay. And then when you do the other side, you try and mirror what you've already done. So when those two sides are fused together, they match. They don't have to be exact, of course, because it's art. and art is never exact, then it's not art.
Do we not have to etch?
No, that's a very good question. We don't have to etch because it has not been fused yet. Do you remember we talked about if it has been fused, you have to etch. But this glass has only been fired at a very low temperature, just enough to unroll it, so we don't have to etch it. It's one of those sneaky tricks that you are going to love.
We love sneaky tricks here.
We do. We love time savers. Can you imagine trying to etch all these pieces? That would be terrible.
Because then you would have to etch the actual drawing.
Or you just have to etch the whole entire thing and let the rest of it fire polish again. But because it hasn't been fused yet, you don't have to do that. All right. So now we're going to add some green to the feathers. I love this blue, this ice blue and ice green together. I just think they're fantastic. Mm-hmm. And they really look great on the cobalt blue glass. My favorite combination.
I can see a peacock with this cobalt blue.
Oh, I haven't done a peacock yet. Maybe we should add it to the list for the advanced class.
Yes, I think that's a great idea.
All right.
Let's see. Do you ever use glass line paints?
I do. I do use glass line paint. I do. I've used it. I actually prefer to use glass line on float glass, on window glass. It's really spectacular on tempered glass. And maybe, eventually we'll figure out some way to show that to you. Okay, then what do we have next? Now I'm painting his beak with gold. I think I'll give him a gold eye too. Okay. And I think we will do gold polka dots on his tail. Thank you, whoever asked the question about fusing, because I had forgotten to tell you about that, and that's a critical piece of information. The list.
So that was a very in-depth overview of your first course.
It was a very in-depth first course. We did a lot of stuff.
I really don't remember. Was it worth it? 35 courses later.
38
You're
courses
still here?
later.
How many?
I think by the end of the year it will be 38.
Wow. Wow, amazing.
Yeah, counting all the symposiums and the fast tracks and all that kind of stuff. When I looked on my instructor page, my course count was 37 before the last class. So,
wow.
I
think you broke a record. I'm always behind you trying to make another course.
Right, it's astonishing. I can still find things to talk about. But
we were talking about the next one just before we started. Christina Sue is saying, that's awesome. I've been dreaming of studio spaces for glass, ceramics, woodworking, welding, painting, and so much more. Glad to know I'm not the only one who wants to do it all.
You're not. Every time I think, oh, I'm not going to do this anymore, and then I remember I actually do own a welder. And
yeah, see?
Yeah.
Yeah, same thing here. Bree saying, and I don't know if this is possible, I would love to see a time-lapse video from your kiln window. Would that be possible?
It might actually be possible. We have done some time-lapse videos with a smaller kiln. Where we took one of the 6-inch kilns and we put a quartz lid on it. So the whole top of the kiln is quartz. And we did do some time-lapse videos there, but they're just little. It might be.
A thing for the next course?
Yeah, a thing. We'll have to figure it out because I'm not sure.
Can you,
what to do
would it
about that.
damage the camera at all? Because I remember with lamp working, we had to put filters in all the cameras to be able to film that.
Well, that's what I don't know. So,
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But
we'll
don't
have
use
to-
your latest cell phone to do that.
No, I won't. Oh, yeah, no, I won't.
Yeah,
I
right?
thought about that, though. I was like, I wonder if I could take a picture of this and send it to Nick.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to.
Okay.
I'll have to check,
She'll
yeah.
figure that out, Bree, because you know how she is, right? You
Yep.
put a challenge, Jody's up for that. We have a lot of questions for her, but we are going to take a small break. She just mentioned 37 or 38 courses. All of them are at a discounted price, like if it was live right now. So if you haven't, I don't know. I think people like Bridge or Rebecca, they have all 37
Probably.
of your courses. But if you're one of those, the very few ones that you don't have all of her courses, take a look, scroll down, and if you're on YouTube, go to curiousmondo.com/live. Take a look at all her courses. They are all discounted today and today only for a few hours, and you can get them and add them to your collection. If a sneak peek, like we just showed you, just an overview takes 14 minutes, imagine what you get inside each course. I mean, one thing that Jodi does every single time is that she preps several projects with different, isn't that so?
Several projects.
Several projects. Like she goes crazy.
You're adorable.
I lowball things, right? Yeah.
Yeah, many projects. I think
Many projects in every single course with different processes or in different challenges from each one. So the fact is, we always say that it's Jodi Fused Glass University because the level of knowledge that you end up acquiring, one thing, and we'll talk about this when we come back, is that artists, they are driven for different things, right? What sometimes is all the aesthetic. And with Jodi, you do know, just by knowing her, that is the challenge. If there is a question, she has to answer that. And she loves testing. Well, that's very unique, and you don't find that everywhere with all the artists. So if you're seeking more knowledge about fused glass, really, there is no other person for you. So go take a look at that, and I'll be back here in 7 minutes.
There, I'm Jodi McRaney-Rusho from Glass with a Past, and I'm here at Curious Mondo Studios today to tell you about an upcoming class that I'm teaching, and I hope that you will join me. We'll be fusing coral reefs, and we will be using images taken from my own diving experiences and building out fused glass coral reefs with fish and coral and kelp, octopi and shrimp, seahorses, and everything you can imagine. We will be working simultaneously, making each design in both recycled glass and in System 96. So no matter what kind of glass you use for your fusing projects, we have something for you. So please make sure that you put it on your calendar, register now, and I will see you under the sea. Hi there! This is Jodi from Glass with the Past, and I'm at Curious Mondo today to tell you about a super cool new class. I am so excited to be here and to tell you about this. We are going to learn about fused glass birds! Look at them! Aren't they amazing? So we're going to learn about fusing birds, about designing patterns, fusing birds. We'll be using recycled glass. We'll be using fusible art glass. We will talk about standoffs and hardware, adhesives, how to choose the right commercial standoff, but also how to make your own standoffs. Like, how cool is that? So we will also be planning installations and talking about how to choose the right anchors and what wall types work best. This is going to be such a fun class, not just because birds are super, super cool and fusing is also super cool, but because I think we'll be able to answer a whole bunch of questions that you might have and give you some confidence about putting your birds on a wall safely so they'll stay there for a really long time and look amazing. So, go. sign up now, register, and I will see you in not very long to teach you all about fused glass birds. Hello, I'm Jodi with Glass with a Past, and I'm here at Curious Mondo today to talk about my very exciting new class, and I'm really happy to tell you about it because I think it's going to be a riot. So we are going to be, and just in time for Halloween, we're going to be making glass monsters, and we'll be making these using the lost wax casting method, and I have an example of some little lizards right here for you to see. And what we'll be doing is starting with the very weirdest plastic animals we can find. I recommend hitting up thrift stores, dollar stores, but look at these little guys. Are they like creepy or what? I mean, look at this guy. So weird. So we'll take our little animals and then we will learn how to make a silicone mold of it, and we will make a mold of all the different animals. We'll talk about different kinds of silicone for mold making. It'll be awesome. Then we will make we'll make wax copies of our animals, and we will chop those wax copies up and put them back together to make all new animals, the weirdest possible animals we can come up with. That's why we're calling it Make a Monster. Like, for example, I have a little two-headed lizard here, and then after we make our wax monsters, we will learn about casting investment, how to mix our plaster silica, how to measure, how to guess how much glass we'll need, and then we will cast those critters in recycled glass. Now, this one that I have is actually uranium glass, which is super cool, but we are going to learn how to how to test and cast with all different kinds of recycled glass. So, you know, we'll find out if Grandma's vase can be used. Shh, don't tell anybody. But it will be awesome. So make sure you sign up today so that you can learn how to make your own cast glass monsters with me at Curious Mondo. I'll see you there.
And we are back, and part of this segment we are going to show you a very cool doc that we did with Jodi in her news. That was really your new studio at that time. I want to remind you that tomorrow, well, you're going to laugh a lot with Jodi still today, but tomorrow we have Karen Baker here in the studio, so you cannot miss that. And on Wednesday we have the Paverpol Party, where we are going to talk to a few Paverpol artists about their art and Paverpol and all that cool stuff. But before we ask some more questions here for Jodi. I just said you laugh with her, right? So let's watch some bloopers.
Hi there, I'm Jodi McRaney-Rusho from Glass with a Past, and I'm a fused glass artist. Hi, I'm Jodi from Glass with a Past. I'm your host for today, Jodi McRaney-Rusho. Hello there, I'm Jodi McRaney-Rusho from Glass with a Past. Hi there, this is Jodi from Glass with a Past. We're gonna go on turbo. Turbo? We are on turbo mode, because this is bad stuff. Okay. So awesome.
Was it good? I love it, but Marley has a different taste of these.
I feel better already.
There we go.
Okay, let me just nail it down for you.
She said, I can't believe you actually read that. I meant to say...
It was a little confusing.
I meant to say with using just one bottle.
Okay. And it will change your world.
It will change your life.
Right now, welcome Sharon to the broadcast.
Hi, Sharon.
Thank you very much, Nash.
It's a sadness, but we'll keep Vera in our thoughts and we'll try and figure out a solution. I don't like round numbers, so I like numbers that add up to 8. So I would like 215 or 224. 224 is a good number, right?
Wonderful class.
I do go diving.
She's cool.
Are we ready for the are we done? Are we ready for the last slide?
I suppose.
Okay. Can we see the last slide? Here it is.
There we go. I had no idea we had this.
Yes, indeed. So this is me taking the pictures that we used in this class.
That's awesome. Man, you're focused.
Oh, yeah.
Look at that.
I'm Jodi McRaney-Rusho, and we'll see you next time.
That's so funny. You know, I was just thinking, it's just like the movies without sound, because that's how we were watching this. And we laugh, and there is no sound. So if there was
Still
anybody
laughed.
watching right now, it would, oh, they are weird.
Oh, dear.
So see, it's not only sweat and tears, there are a few laughs.
Right.
But you and I, when we are looking, we go, oh, I look so tired. Oh, I look so tired.
Right.
That's part of the process too. Okay, questions for you before the documentary.
Okay.
Sarah, what are some of the major challenges you had to overcome when opening your own commercial studio? That's a very good question.
Oh, gosh. So probably one of the things that I'm still struggling with is that I have a little difficulty focusing on things, as most artists do. And
I don't know what you're talking about.
I know. What? Shiny? And so I guess the thing that I still struggle with is keeping all of the balls in the air at the same time, because I'm very used to like focusing on this thing, but you can't do that. You can't do that with a commercial studio, because those bills, they just keep coming. And so it's that I really have had to start. I can't tigger off after whatever shiny thing I want to look at right now.
The fun part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've had to work really hard to like make sure that the fun part doesn't take over, even though the fun part is the fun part, right? So I've been very much better about scheduling things. I've had to learn how to use my phone better, because I'm not a phone person. So I just take my phone and chuck it in the corner, and now it's got reminders, run payroll. That's very important. That kind of thing. So that's been my biggest challenge, is to keep all of these processes going at the same time, so that it becomes very predictable, and that income
Almost
keeps
systematic.
coming in. Yeah. I'm not good at systems. I am not good at systems. I'm good at building systems. And then I write them down and immediately forget everything I wrote down.
I'm like that too, but thankfully I have Nashla, and she's extremely good at systematizing.
Yeah.
But you know, when you have a business, right, a commercial space, a commercial studio, things shift, and from people looking from the outside, they might be thinking you're thinking about making money all the time, but really the subtext in your mind is, I have this bills, and I mean, keep just the rent of the studio, like you said, is if you're lucky, the price of a mortgage. So you have that and all the other bills, plus the people that you bring with you. It's just like the Little Prince. You are now responsible for them.
Yeah,
right.
That's
And
the
you
first
cannot
thing, right? They get paid before you do.
Is every
Yeah.
single time.
Every single time. Every
Actually,
single
I
time.
don't remember last time I got paid. So you, but you were responsible, because they have lives, they have families, they have their stuff.
Yeah.
So you just cannot sit down. Just I don't feel like it today, and I'm going just to have fun with my glass. That
Right.
doesn't happen anymore.
Well, and I can't even just say, I don't feel like it today.
Yeah, you don't have that.
I
Or I
don't-
want a
I don't have
vacation.
that.
You can want all you want, my dear. You're not going to have it.
I take one day a week where I don't go into the studio, and that day
Nice.
is Saturday. And there are still even some days where I say, I'm going to go to the grocery store, and I go to the studio. But I do need that, because if you don't have some downtime.
Yeah.
So the biggest struggle has been creating systems and sticking to them. The other challenge that I run into is I think that I have more time than I do. So I plan my whole week and I put 20,000 things on each day and I get 2 done. And
I know that feeling too.
right? So I do feel like I'm always behind on everything. And I should take more time to actually celebrate the things that work, right? And I don't do a lot of that.
Yeah.
Because there's always 10 more things that need to be done immediately.
It happens. I mean, the other day,
Yeah.
Nashla got her citizenship. Which
Yes,
is,
this is super exciting.
it's super exciting.
Super exciting.
Right, we left the place and we came here to work.
Yeah.
And at night we said, we went out for dinner, but we said, okay, we should be celebrating,
Yeah.
right? We worked so hard for this.
Yeah.
But, you know, you have to keep the balls going. Now, it sounds that everything is a struggle. It is a struggle, but we do gather
Well,
some fun out of that as
Yeah,
well,
and
right?
it's not that it's a struggle, but it's a job.
It's a job, yeah.
It's a job.
You have commitments,
right?
yeah.
And it's still the best job I've ever had, but it is a job.
Yeah.
It is still.
It has a lot of
It
stuff.
is still a job, yeah. And I think there's this idea that it's all just fun and games, but it's a job. You have to treat it like a job. You have to treat it like you were going to go work for someone else, right? Because you kind of are. You're working for the landlord.
Everybody that gets your money. Jen Rowe is asking, when someone tells me I can't, I focus harder on proving them wrong.
I know,
We
right?
know the feeling.
We do, and it's kind of a weird motivation, but it does seem to work for me. So.
For me too. Lee, Jodi, what would cause a crack to occur in a contour fuse piece months after being fired? It did not have any trauma, and 100% certain the glass was all compatible.
So it's probably an annealing issue. If it's not a compatibility issue, it's an annealing issue. So contour fusing is tricky because you have all of those steep changes of thickness of glass. It could be thermal shock. I've had this happen before where I've taken things to outdoor festivals, particularly in the summertime, and had things that are partially in shade and partially in the sun, and it just, even though I thought it was annealed correctly and had checked it, it just was enough that thermal shock, the thermal differential was enough to crack it.
Ooh.
And you're in your tent and you hear ping and you go, oh crap,
Oh.
which one is it? Because,
I was on a show outside, maybe 4 years ago, I don't know. But the person behind me was a glass artist. And there came a wind burst. Oh my gosh, it was sad. I mean, we were hurrying to get our stuff, but I could just hear the sound of everything breaking.
I had one of those shows. I was down at the downtown library here in Salt Lake, and it's this beautiful building with the big curve, and that curve is all glass. And then at the bottom, there's a big fountain, so there's a big pond, and it creates a little wind tunnel that when the sun hits that glass and heats it up.
Oh.
And so I was right in front of it, and it just picked up my whole tent. I was holding on to the crossbars of the tent. I couldn't because my tent was...
Yeah.
So I was just basically hang gliding in my tent, and the glass is just blowing her down onto the sidewalk around me.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You learn really quick not to get too attached.
So, these interviews are to pump you up. Pump you up to
Yay, be an
create more.
artist.
Yeah.
No,
it's just, well, it's life, right? And
It is.
there are good days and bad days for everything.
Right.
And we need to learn how sometimes we have to deal with frustration no matter what.
And I think it's valuable to be resilient and understand that what makes you an artist isn't this. It's this and this.
Yeah,
And you still
exactly.
have those.
Yes.
Right.
And you can create more.
And you can create more.
Yeah,
right.
that's good.
And so to get super connected to, like, my value is not in that glass. My value is in who I am and what I can do.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
Yeah.
By the way, it got serious now. So while you
No.
think about your next question to
Okay.
send it here to us so Jodi can answer, we're going to watch the documentary that we did. It's a short one.
I have not seen it
Yes.
before. There have been apparently lots of surprises today that I have not seen before.
Here is more or less, not that we are hiding from you, is it ready to show?
Well, we were just talking about there are so many things now. We're like,
Good.
where's that one thing we made? Where did
Yeah.
we save that at? That was really fun.
Yeah, exactly. We were just talking about that. So we are going to watch that, and I think that's going to inspire you a lot because we did talk about, there are two sides of everything, including going to a commercial studio. You have all the fun, all the possibilities, the size of it that allows you to do more things, but then you have all the other things that come with that. You will need help. The help will need to be paid, and all the stuff we talked about. So let's see the other side of that now.
Hi there, I'm Jodi McRaney-Rusho from Glass with a
And I'm
Past,
going to pee.
and I'm a fused glass artist working exclusively in recycled and reused glass. And I just wanted to talk to you today about being a glass artist. Like, what does that look like? And in particular, working our way up from being a beginner in what kind of tools we need, what kind of equipment we need, and what it looks like to move into a commercial studio, and things that I wish I had have known, things that I didn't know. Let's chat. So, I started my glass journey in 2002-ish, about 20 years ago, and at the time there was not a lot of people working in recycled glass, so I really kind of had to go on my own. I started by melting bottles and windows that had just been taken out of my house in my kiln, and I have to be very honest with you, everything failed for a very long time. I tried a lot of experiments, and I finally just knuckled down and started to do systematic tests. And for about the first 5 years of my career, which is still a difficult word for me to use in terms of what I do for a living, nothing worked, and it was extremely discouraging, but I did it anyway. And with a lot of testing and a lot of note-taking and a lot of encouragement, I finally did figure out like what things worked, what things go together, what things don't go together. Even what temperatures to use. There were no classes for me to take. There was no one to ask. I just figured it out. And eventually I did figure it out, and it was amazing. It was the most amazing thing to open the kiln and have a successful piece. It was just life-changing. So don't get discouraged if you have pieces that don't work, that aren't exactly perfect your very first time. You're not alone. Hang in there. So after I finally did figure out things, I started to make everything I could think of, which was fantastically fun. I made soap dishes and napkin holders and business card holders and pendants and everything you could think of. Until finally my husband said, you gotta either stop making things or sell some things or throw these things away. And so I started selling things, and I started in a little bit of a farmer's market situation where I just rented a little piece of grass and I toted all my stuff down every week, and I sold soap dishes to people that were buying organic broccoli, and it was wonderful. It was such a fantastic experience for a couple of reasons. I don't consider myself an extrovert. I tend to be a very private person, and to be forced out into public to talk about my work, and there's another word, it took the longest time before I could even call my glass my work or my art, right? It's okay to feel that reluctance, but know that it is your work and it is something that you created, and it's okay to call it that. And so I created this, my work, and I was forced to talk about it and forced to answer questions about it, because people who buy organic broccoli have a lot of questions. So we sold a lot of artwork and grew a lot. And I made a little studio space in my basement, and it was about the size of a 6-foot long table. with my kiln in one corner. And I made all of this stuff, and eventually I started taking over the rest of the basement. A little bit more space at a time. This was my only job. I was busy raising a kid, and then this was also what I did to keep a sense of self and to keep a sense of accomplishment and to explore that creative side and feel like I was doing something just for me. Sometimes you do get lost in your other responsibilities. And as I took over more and more of this space, I learned things. I learned things about being an artist. And one of them was that I really should have moved into a commercial space. I was taking up a lot of space. I needed more, and I could not because it was so terrifying to me, the risk involved, the perceived risk to me involved in moving into a commercial space. It was really scary, and scary in ways that I couldn't quite put my finger on. It felt like a lot of commitment, which was really funny because at this point I'd been making glass for 17 years. So the commitment was already there, but it was so scary. This idea of moving into this space with a lease that had my name on it, eek, and knowing that I would be doing this thing that had always just been sort of a serious pastime, but and it was about to become a job, like a career, a job, and it was really terrifying to me. And so after talking to everybody I know, all of my I call them my board of directors, all of my smart business friends, both artists and not artists. And I did it. I jumped. I found a little studio space that was smaller than my home studio even, and I moved in. And it was the most new feeling for me to go to that studio and unlock the door and lock it and be in a creative area that was mine alone. It was insane. So amazing and wonderful. And I learned some things. I learned that your creativity needs space, and it needs no distractions, no kids following you around, pecking you to death like a duck. Not that mine did, but just saying. And when you have that space, you have so many new ideas and so much creativity that is waiting for you there. So I moved into my beautiful space, my tiny 400 square foot space, and I made beautiful things. And 9 months later, the pandemic started. And talk about terrifying. All of that risk that I was worried about was crashing right there on my head. There it was. There was the commitment that I was so scared of. And it was fine. It was fine. I worked hard. It worked out. It was fine. And so that 9 months ago, I took another gigantic step and I moved from a 400 square foot commercial studio to a 1,600 square foot, and again had months of sleepless nights and so much fear and concern and worry, and I did it, and it's been 9 months now, and I can't imagine being anywhere else. Honestly, I'm not sure I could shove all this stuff back into anywhere else. I have expanded like a goldfish. I have grown to fill the space I have been allotted. So I wanted to talk to you, well, now you know my story, but I wanted to talk to you a little bit about, if you're just starting out, maybe some of the tools and things that you would need in your studio. Some of the things that have gone right with my tools and some that have gone wrong with my tools, and things, just part of the journey of being an artist. So let's go look at some of the tools, shall we? So, my very first kiln. I had not ever done glass before, and I was not sure what to buy, and I was hedging my bets because we talked about that whole risk thing, and I'm nothing if not, I don't know, careful, sort of, sometimes. So I bought myself this ceramics kiln with the computerized controller here, thinking that if I hated doing glass, I could always fall back and do ceramics. And it was an interesting thought, and it did lead to a part of my glass career making glass molds out of ceramics that would never have happened without this kiln. But the downside was that by buying a kiln that was deep rather than wide, I actually made the learning curve for glass much harder for myself. So when people ask me, what kind of kiln should I buy and should I get this ceramics kiln, I rarely say yes. It is much easier to learn how to do glass in a glass kiln. I would do it, if I were to do it again, I would do it the other way around. I would buy my glass kiln first and then later expand into ceramics. But sometimes mistakes work out well, and it did work out well for me. So this is my very first kiln that I bought way back in 2001. And it's been with me this whole time. I've replaced elements, I've replaced relays. It's been a workhorse, and I love this little guy. But I would like to show you my glass kiln, which is what I would suggest for a first-time artist. So let's go have a look at that. So this is not my first kiln, but this is what I wish my first kiln had have been. In fact, this was actually the last kiln I bought. And this one is a glass kiln. You can see it has the elements in the lid. You can also see it's had a little bit of wear on it. She's been around the block, this girl has. So this one I bought used from a different glass artist that was liquidating her studio. It's a very long, complicated, not very interesting story. But I bought this kiln and I tucked it under a tarp in my carport because it didn't fit in my studio, and kind of forgot about it. And then when I moved into my commercial space, there were some snags along the way, some issues, a very big, very expensive problem that we'll talk about in a minute. And this little kiln saved my bacon. So the things I've learned about this kiln, this is, I believe, the optimal kiln size. It's 28 inches wide. It is exactly big enough for me to fill in one day's worth of work. So I never fire it empty, ever. Like, there's never an empty space anywhere in it. It is a workhorse. It doesn't cost a lot to fire. It runs about $4 a firing. So as long as you have everything packed in there, it's great. This is what I wish I had started with, and what I recommend all beginning glass artists buy. Unfortunately, for glass artists, our tendency is to want to get the biggest kiln that we possibly can. And there are downsides to that. And one of them is it's really hard to fill a giant kiln. It would take me a week to produce enough work to fill a kiln. So I often was firing my very biggest kiln with empty space, which is not cost effective for a business. So I would recommend one this size as a beginner kiln, and I will never give this thing up. I'll keep the big kiln and this one. But I want to show you some of the things that I've been working on, because what's an artist without art, right? So in this beautiful kiln here, we have some fuse and fold animals, and these are all recycled window glass and that I've painted, and they're all flat, and we'll show you some pictures of them folded up here in just a minute. But this would be a very typical firing, and then you can see I had molds with glass on them through the rest of the kiln, because you can fire both of those things at the same time, or the glass on the molds at the same time. So this guy is a fantastic kiln. I love everything about it. It doesn't always go well or according to plan. So let's go look at the big kiln, and we'll talk about what happens when something goes wrong. So let me introduce you to Vera. This is my baby. This is my big kid glass kiln, the one that I bought. I did buy her used from another glass artist who was getting out of the business. Now that I'm thinking about that, that sounds like a recurring theme, but different artist. And this was going to be the kiln that I made big artwork in. And I did make big artwork in it. And we had a great time. And then tragedy struck. It was a bitter and dark day. When we moved to this new commercial studio, we had to move this kiln out of the basement and up some very steep stairs. And unfortunately, there was a little bit of a tragedy. We broke 2 of the elements and 2 of the ceramic bars that hold the elements into the lid. And then we moved into the studio. We did get it here. And immediately following, the manufacturer went out of business overnight and disappeared off the face of the planet. So I now have the world's most expensive steel and fiber paperweight. And I don't want to downplay how much money it's costing me just to have this thing taking up space doing nothing. This was thousands of dollars worth of kiln purchase, and to repair it's going to be thousands more dollars. And it becomes this dilemma in a small business, like at what point do you just pull the plug and start over? And I don't have an answer for you on that. It's an ongoing saga. I love this thing. I don't want to let her go, but I also have no idea how we're going to fix it, the problem. So I will tell you though that without the little glass kiln that we looked at before, that little 28-inch one, I would have been out of business. And it's a real problem when your entire business model depends on one piece of equipment. If something goes wrong with that, you need to have a plan. You need to have a backup plan. And even if it's a hobby, even if you just have that boutique at your sister's house for Mother's Day, just keep in mind if your whole entire plan rests on one piece of equipment, things can go south quickly. So do I recommend getting a big giant kiln? Absolutely. Do I recommend also having a smaller glass kiln? Absolutely. It is good to have a backup. So, you know, things happen, things that you don't expect, and you just kind of end up working around them. And what has happened with me in this particular case is, because I've had a smaller space to work in kiln-wise, I've become much more efficient with my design, and I spend a lot more time in the processing phase of designs where I work out the issues rather than throwing my very first concept in the kiln knowing that I have plenty of space. I can throw in 8 different versions and see which one works. I don't have that luxury anymore, so I have to work out those problems ahead of time. And it's actually made me a better artist. It changes the way that you work when you have a challenge like this. And I would like to say it changes it for, you know, that it would be better, but I feel like it was a change for the better. It was a challenge that has really improved my artistic vision and also my process. So it's a sadness, but we'll keep Vera in our thoughts and we'll try and figure out a solution.
And then I say goodbye and we show Serinda and you. Cool. You know, what's interesting to me is how you managed to insert organic broccoli into a glass thing.
They are more related than you would guess.
Right?
Well, that was very serious. I'm not a very serious person.
Well, you did that when you had your studio for 9 months. It's been how long now?
12. No, it couldn't have been 9 months, was it?
I don't know. Well, you mentioned that in the
Oh,
video.
gosh.
So it's been a year now?
It has. It's been a year and a little bit.
So still the same feelings going through?
No. Yes. I've gotten better at the routine since then. I don't have that, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm here. Now I go in and go, oh my gosh, I can't believe I have all this stuff in here. It is such a mess. I can't believe how much stuff I own. It is still very much a spiritual home for me, though. Mm-hmm. And it's just feeling like more home.
Every day.
Yeah.
That's
and
good.
and I've gotten, of course, Vera is alive and well. Just in the last month, got Vera fixed, and then acquired Vanna. So, yeah, so I have big things, like big plans.
All right,
and
that's
it feels
good.
like I finally
And
have the tools to go.
To do it.
Yeah.
Nice. And I want to talk about this after the break and the hoops that you have been through. I have a question here for you.
Okay.
But before we do that, we are going to go into a quick break, just 3 minutes. And that just enough time for you to look, because she said 38 courses, so I don't think you're going to have time to check all of them right now, but scroll where the video is, or if you're on YouTube, go to curiousmondo.com/live. They're all discounted as if we were live, so around 30% off the normal price. So if you don't have one of them, this is the time to do it. So go take a look at that, and I'll be back here in 3 minutes.
Hi, I'm Serinda Jones here with Curious Mondo. I have a fabulous course coming up that I want to share with you. It is called Sugar Casting and how we go about mounting and layering the little wafer thin sugar castings with glass, of course. We're using the 01 frit, so it's a fine frit, and molds and shapes and whatnot. So what I'm going to show you is how to mount them here in this little box and how to layer them with other bits and pieces. Then we'll show you how to layer them. This is a elephant ear shape. It's a tree, a leaf, right? So we're going to go into that. I'm super excited about this course. I hope you will join us, and we'll see you soon. Bye. Hi, Serinda Jones here, and I have this amazing course that I want to share with you, a 3-day course with Curious Mondo, of course, and it's all about glass pattern bars. What are glass pattern bars? Well, they are basically a brick of glass that you're making in a dammed frame, and then you take a tile saw and you cut them, and then you fillet them open like a butterfly, if you will. So let me go over some of the things that we're going to learn. There's so much here and more, but let's talk about like day 1. We go through basic tack fuse pattern bars where you can cut on the tile saw. Then we go into a crosshatch, which this is one of my most famous things that I've done for commissions, so happy to share that with you. Then we go into basically it's a Rorschach where you put the 2 tiles together to do that butterfly that I was just talking about. Then we go into windows. Oh my gosh, there's so much you can do with windows in glass. It is amazing. Then day 3, we go into stringers and how to put those on edge. It is so amazing. Then we have different kinds of molds to make pattern bars. So it is, we have a triangle shape, which I do 4 different pattern bars with a triangle, 5 actually. And then we go into a hexagon shape, and I have 5 different pattern bars to share with you on that. Then we do a couple of different creative things and an angled pattern bar, which gives you some amazing flower type shapes. I really hope that you can join me in this class. It's like kaleidoscope dreams, and you'll be dreaming in kaleidoscope colors. All right, see you soon. Hi, I'm Serinda Jones here with Curious Mondo. I have a fabulous course coming up that I want to share with you. It is called Sugar Casting, and how we go about mounting and layering the little wafer thin sugar castings with glass, of course. We're using the 01 frit, so it's a fine frit, and molds and shapes and whatnot. So what I'm going to show you is how to mount them here in this little box, and how to layer them with other bits and pieces. Then we'll show you how to layer them. This is a elephant ear shape. It's a tree, a leaf, right? So we're going to go into that. I'm super excited about this course. I hope you will join us, and we'll see you soon. Bye.
And I want to invite you to get to know our Roku channel. So if you have a Roku device or a smart TV with Roku, you have hours and hours and hours of fun to watch at our new network. It is called Pitanga Network. And we are going to write on the chat right now, Pitanga Network. And you find, first of all, you find all the interviews condensed there, so you can watch many artists. You have Creativity in Focus, you have Pavercraft, Pavermondo, and a lot of new stuff, and we are adding things all the way. We just ask you, when you add the channel, and then you come back and give us the 5 stars. That is so important, because it's a brand new channel, like we're just releasing. So you taking the time to do those 5 stars means a lot to us, because it keeps us going, and all the content there is free. So you can watch, again, hours and hours and hours of entertainment related to creativity and self-reliance. So you're going to have fun, and just give that 5 stars for us. So, Jodi, I have a question for you. Okay. Linda is asking about getting a commercial space again. Are there a lot of restrictions or hoops you have to jump through to get a kiln in your business?
So that's actually a really good question. There are, sort of. It depends on the space. So the commercial space that I ended up leasing was ideal, because it had been used for some sort of manufacturing before. So the electrical service was already to the space. So all I really needed to do was get the outlets for the kiln put in. So I did have to contract an electrician for that. And I had to figure all that out before I signed the lease, right? So you have, because if you can't have that done, then you don't want to sign the lease. And then I had to talk to the landlords, because they were not at all convinced that kilns were a good idea. So I had to educate them. Then I had to check with the fire department, the fire marshal, to make sure that that was allowed in the space. I had to make sure that I didn't have to have sprinklers put in, because the landlords didn't want to add sprinklers, because the maintenance is just ridiculous. Then I also had to check with the city to make sure that it was zoned correctly, and that I would be able to get a business license. So all of that had to happen before I could even move forward. And so one thing I did learn, I didn't know this ahead of time, but one thing I did learn was that at least the place that South Salt Lake City, where I have my business, you could sign a thing with your landlord that said, as long as everything works out, I will be leasing this space. And that way you can actually get all of those licenses and inspections done before you sign the lease, so that if there is a problem, it's sort of like a test drive of a car, or like a mechanics check. You can do all that ahead of time, so that if there is a problem and the city says no go, you haven't signed the lease yet. So I don't know if that's a typical thing for every city? Do you
Well,
know?
I
Did
think
do
you
that?
need to go, well, in any commercial space, you are going to have rules with the city.
Yeah.
For example, Salt Lake itself,
Yeah.
there are some type of business they don't take into that city.
Yes, there are.
Right? So you have to inform, you go to the city and
Tell them what
ask,
you're- right.
what, even before, when you find the building, right, I think I would go to the city
Yeah.
and check. The electrical is a big issue for many type of business. Even
Yeah.
for us, we don't use what you use,
Yeah.
but we need a minimum to be able to operate cameras and lights and
Right.
everything. So you need to know that ahead of time.
You do. And this was the closest to perfect electricity-wise that we've
Yeah,
ever
that's
found.
true. Because I don't have the same in any
Right.
of the
And
studios
s-
here.
yes,
Yours is
so
very
this
good.
was very much that.
Lucky,
this
lucky.
is the most expensive part of the process, and we're so lucky. So,
I think one
Yeah.
thing you have to consider when you're doing a studio is that you need, are driven into a cool part of town, right?
Yeah.
But for studios, that can cost you a lot of money. Maybe an industrial area. You are in an industrial area. We are in an industrial area. It's just not the
Right.
prettiest place in town,
It's
but
not.
it's useful for what we need.
yes.
Right, so you have to think that take that into consideration a lot, because you would like to be, I don't know, the best place in Main Street, whatever. That if it's a retail shop, it's a different
Yeah.
kind of thing, right?
Right.
But you
Well,
have to
and I thi-
factor that.
That is actually a really good point. Because my first studio was in a very hip sort
part
of
of town.
place,
Uh-huh.
and it was a retail kind of thing. But it was also in not a safe neighborhood. It was a little scary for me, at least. And I just don't, you have to know, like, what are your plans with this? If you're just teaching, you can have your studio anywhere. People will
Yeah.
come to you. If you're hoping for walk-in traffic, do you really get a lot of walk-in traffic? I do not.
Well, in an industrial area, you don't get any.
Well,
Yeah.
I don't think I would anyway, because that's not the kind of marketing I do. It's not the kind
And
of
that's
business
something
I
also
have.
you need to ask the city.
Yes,
right?
it is. And so two things there.
Mm-hmm.
One is you do have to ask the city. I am not zoned for retail.
Mm-hmm.
And my insurance company doesn't cover retail.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So they cover, when I filled out my insurance application, I said I'm 80% by appointment only, and I do these classes, and then I have open studios, and they're like, this is we're exactly what you need, right?
Yeah.
So they were super happy about that. But if you have a retail store, then and also your workman's comp insurance changes. Insurance is just a whole thing.
It's a whole other
It's
nightmare.
a whole other thing. But yeah, and so I don't do a lot of retail.
Yeah.
I don't focus well if people interrupt me, so my studio is by appointment only, and it's really funny. I don't even have my logo on the door. I have a number, my address number. And other than that, I don't want people to come over.
Yeah, we have something similar here. We
Yeah.
have the Art Makers Makery, but it's not a retail space.
Right.
So same thing by appointment, because that also includes how many bathrooms you have to have. So you need to be sure
Parking
if you're eventually
spaces.
you're going to be selling things face to face. You need to make that clear that it's not really a retail space, and even the sign on the door. So I remember in Salt Lake we could go, I think 20 by 25 is the max. If it's bigger, you start paying more and paying more and paying more.
You do.
So all this thing, it sounds like a lot of work, but it's part of
Well, and
renting a space.
It is, and I had to put in emergency lighting, so that if the power goes out, and okay, I will admit this. I tried to talk the fire marshal out of it. I'm like, I'm not going to need this. It's fine, right? Blah blah blah. So I did it. And he of course did not budge. So I put in the emergency lighting, and not a week later the power went out, and I was in that back room. It was like 10 o'clock at night. There's no windows, and that the emergency light came on. And I was like,
Oh, glad I put it.
darn him. But I was really glad, because there was no way that I would have gotten out of there.
I like when the fire marshals come. I say, come, please come, take a look at everything.
He was so nice.
Yeah.
So helpful.
Yeah, most of them are. I think if
Yes.
you treat people with respect, they're
Yeah.
just doing everything they can to keep you safe.
Yes.
And your business
And
safe.
then I do have also a contract with a company that comes in and does my fire extinguishers once a year. It's all these things that you just don't even think about.
Think about, yes.
Yeah.
That
but
you have to
do-
refill
do,
them. And,
right?
yeah,
You have
yeah.
to have a certain number of fire extinguishers. You have to have someone come inspect them. It's just all these things.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, but it gets to a point that it's just part of the business.
Yeah.
Once a year, you get a knock at the door and they
yep.
come.
In fact, he was there last week and he just walked in and I'm like, hey.
Hey, how you doing?
Right? Hey.
Please come back more often. Kristen is asking, how do you keep your recycled glass inventory stocked? I always imagine you running around abandoned building in the dead of night reclaiming glass windows. I would see Jodi doing that.
Not in the dead of night, but yes. So once people figure out you're around, it's not a problem. So I do still pick up things off of trash heaps. In fact, there's some stuff by my house that I've been eyeing for several weeks that people are moving out and they're putting. And then I
they're
also,
moving out
right,
too.
my mom is getting new windows in her house this winter, so I'll be getting all of her windows. And then if I'm short on some specific thing, like for the I have a workshop coming up where we're making snowflakes, where I want lots of glass. So I'm going to actually go to the Habitat for Humanity thrift store and probably buy a used window, like a donated window, because
Nice.
then I know that big giant piece of glass is all compatible, so I can use it for a project. So occasionally I do buy glass, but not super often.
That's cool.
So, yeah.
I just wanted to talk, you said about the insurance, a few things that make insurance less expensive in a business. For example, we have learned this during the years, cameras.
Oh.
Right. Today, cameras are so inexpensive. When we started, it was like, we don't have money to put cameras outside
Yeah.
or inside. Today, $30 you buy one, a good one.
Right.
So having cameras inside and outside, you cannot have in any private areas, but it's a
Right.
commercial space. So having cameras inside and outside decreases a lot the amount, and having rules. So, for example, here in the studio, we don't allow open-toe shoes.
I don't either.
Cables have to be out of the way as well. Anything that would increase the liability.
Right.
So you after a while you look like a crazy person. Everything. Can we do this here? No, there's a
No.
liability.
Right.
No, there's a liability. I'm an expert on liability now, but these things do increase over time the amount of insurance you're paying. So
Yeah.
yeah. You're talking about. She just asked about how do you get your glass. What about if we go shopping with them for a little bit? Tell me a little bit
That was a lot
about
of
this.
fun. So we did. It was a couple years ago, and I can't even remember why we did it, but
Because it was
because
fun.
we could, right? And so
They were having a sale.
Yes. So the Creative Reuse Center in my city was having a warehouse sale, and a Creative Reuse Center is like a thrift store for art supplies. So people donate their art supplies, and then you can go and buy them at a discount. And we went and we did ask permission, and we went on a little shopping trip. Shahar and I did. To see what we could find and what we could make with what we found.
Yes.
And it turned out to be quite unintentionally hilarious.
But I think it started because you go there and you find all these treasures, right? All the time. Oh, no,
yes.
it's annoying. It is basically annoying. I go there and, everything is so dirty and I cannot find it. So I have the hardest time every single time. So I get annoyed. Really annoyed because she goes there, even rings of gold you found.
I do.
All this kind of stuff. And I said, I find dust everywhere.
Yeah.
So we decided to go together to see if I could see the treasures. So let's watch.
And again, it'll be in the movie.
It'll be the outtakes.
Okay, so Shahar here,
And Jodi.
and we shouldn't be here.
Oh,
The
it's
doctor
terrible,
said,
terrible.
"Less craft buying."
It's not craft buying, it's curating art supplies,
Okay.
right?
So we promised you that we would take Jodi thrift shopping. So first of all, tell me where we are.
Okay, we are here at the Clever Octopus warehouse sale. So the Clever Octopus is a creative reuse center in Salt Lake City, which is sort of the fancy way of saying it's a thrift store for art supplies. And they are having a big warehouse sale, and I've transferred my entire life savings and my child's college fund to my checking account. So we are here to find some deals. So
let's go find some deals.
and we've already got a wagon because
Okay, yes.
we know we're going to need a wagon. So come on. And you see I'm on a leash, so I can't run away too fast. So right, let's go check it out. And we're going to talk about what we can find here and how we can use it for glass, among other things. We're going to go that aisle first, I think. Okay. So to start, let's look over here. So over here we have rubber stamps of all kinds, right? See this?
How do you use this as well?
So these, what you do with these is and look at those prices, is that insane? So you use this with an embossing ink on glass, and then you put frit on it, and then you can like put some of these designs on your glass. Now when you do this though, you want to kind of move away from the super detailed, because the frit tends to clog up the details a little bit. So you want to look for things with clean lines, and like good, like this would be amazing. This one's gonna go in where's my wagon?
Boy.
Okay.
And I'm holding the phone. How can I
know you can't shop. Too bad for you. So this is awesome. These are just a great source. Love these. Okay. All right. Walk this way.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes.
If you're filming in my store,
Yes.
boy.
we have a special outfit for folks who are filming in our store.
This is Jen, one of the founders of
must wear this
the
outfit.
Clever
Very
Octopus.
We know that we're filming.
Okay.
We were missing that in your wardrobe.
Actually, right? I might have to get. Oh, there's stuff in the pockets.
Money!
Lipstick. Perfect. And tissues, just in case.
We do have freebies.
The tissues are free. In case I get too sweaty, I have some tissues in my donated pocket of my fur coat. All right, walk this way. Holy cow, I might have to take that off though, I'm roasting.
I wonder why it's so cold.
Whew, that actually is real fur, by the way. It is very soft. Feels like my cat, which is kind of creepy. All right, so let's look what we have here. We have markers for ridiculously low price. We have more stamp pads. So this is where you're going to find the embossing ink for your frit. We have dies for you fiber people. Look at this. Wow.
I need some.
Right? We'll be
Don't
back.
get everything, Jodi.
We'll be back over here in just a minute. We have alcohol inks, and this is something that I've been meaning to try on glass and haven't. So with alcohol inks, you don't fire it. You drip it on, and it like you put it on the back of glass and then seal it or frame it or something like that. So you can use it for displays, for panels, that kind of thing. I'll be getting some of that for sure. Digging through there. Look at this, 1/2 gallons of acrylic paint. It's just crazy stuff. This is my new favorite place. All right, so fiber, boo, who cares?
What glass stuff?
Right, more glass stuff. So down here we have this cool stuff, which we're using in our display class in 2 weeks. This
that?
This is it's a acrylic. It's like plexiglass, but it's a little different. So, but we can bend it, and we'll make some displays out of it. Well, you'll see this again. We'll have all different sizes of that. We have this in particular I'm pretty excited about. So these are clear alphabet stamps, and you'll be seeing these show up on the TV show because these are pretty cool. You can use these to put custom words on your artwork. Like you can use them to stamp your name, or you can do other people's names, or awards, anything, you know, like congratulations, whatever you need to put on there. That's super cool. All right, those are awesome. We'll be stocking up on those for sure.
Of course, office supplies, packaging. Oh, I'm such a sucker for packaging.
You don't need any more packaging.
I need packaging. I always need packaging. Fla, fla, fla. I hear, I do not obey. All right, let's see. Wait. So this, you see hiding down here on the bottom, you see this thing called glass, right? But wait. So look at this.
What is that?
These are test tubes that we have been wanting to try fusing with for a really long time. So we will be putting those in the wagon. Right into the wagon. Let's see. Oh, those are interesting. Okay. So these guys, these are things called electrode cups.
Is that what those are?
That's what it says on the box. They're for signs. So here, this is the thing they hook into.
Oh.
What do you do?
So that's what those glass things hook into. I think that's a sign making deal. I don't know, but I'm
at the main store as well, and we could never
figure out what they are. It says electrode receptacle. So we'll have to, we'll think about that for a minute. Interesting. We have more fiber. Who cares? All right, let's see what else we got here. Ooh.
Oh, I want
Right. It is. So this one, it looks like it's a self-inking stamper. Oh, look at this. So this has all kinds of cool things. A handle, stitch piercers, floss. Cool. Okay, I'm not a fiber person. Okay, that goes into the bin. We have glitter of all kinds. German glass glitter. Okay, so look at this. I'm totally going to try this. This is German glass glitter, 100 grit chartreuse. I have no idea what that is.
Chartreuse is that beautiful green.
It is, but I have
glitter?
Yeah, but I have no idea what it is. So we're gonna buy it anyway because the price is right, and we are all about testing things. Okay, cool.
Okay.
We have some interesting canvases. Oh, look at this. We have, what are these? Cutting mats. Awesome. Those are cool too.
That's good.
Yes, nice foam. keep up, right? Got distracted. Okay, these are my favorite.
Yes.
These are my favorite sketchbooks right here. $5 each. Look at that. Some of those will be ending up in my basket. Okay. So let's look over here for a sec. This is sort of the. Now we're getting into sort of the random stuff, but you always look where the random stuff is because you never know what you're going to find. Oh, magazine boxes, always good. I use a lot of those. So over here, and this is fantastic. This whole table is 50 cents an item. And look at these awesome industrial strength stamps here. These are, we're going to use those for fiber paper, for kiln carving. We're going to use those for thin brass and copper sheet. We're going to use them for, what else? Mica sheets. We got all kinds of things. These are.
Can we use this type as well?
Yeah, we can use this type as well. These just aren't as cool. But yeah, we totally can use this type as well. Nice triangle shape. Okay, this goes in my.
Oh, I'm the cart lackey.
Yes, the cart lackey is slacking.
I'm sorry, I just do my own thing.
Yeah.
Right? What? Okay, so again, these are the random things. But random things are pretty cool. Look, we have a whole bag full of necklaces here. You just take that little pendant off and put on your own necklace charm, your own glass charm. Oh, look at that.
What's that?
This is a screw, nut, and bolt gauge. So you can see if you have the right size of screw for the nut that you're buying. That goes in the cart. We're buying nuts. Glitter and glue pen. There you go. It is shiny. So some of these things, let's see. I saw some fabric things in here.
Like this, some of these things can be used just for the texture as well. That they are really nice garage sale labels. That too. You can add a little texture to things like the concrete, things like doilies. Like there's a little stand for something, right? A little doll stand right there.
Oh, it's those little cat.
It is. It's a whole. So we also have over here art books, and I saw at least one art book I was going to need. One of my favorites, right? So I definitely
How much are you
need
going to buy this for?
$2.
Ooh, nice.
Yes, we have all kinds of art books, and then down here, I don't know what these are for. Oh, I do know what those are for. Those are for making the flag banner things. Oh gosh, we have all kinds of fabric over here. So actually this would, and I'm gonna probably get some of this, because this would be terrific for a texture on concrete. Wouldn't that be fun? Mm-hmm. That's really nice. Well, I don't care about beautiful. It's just useful. Right, you never know. Oh, look at that. Stainless steel. You never know what you can do with stainless steel. Whenever I see a stainless steel thing, look at those. So you have different textures here. So you could use those for you could fuse little pendants right on them. Okay, those are going in the bin too.
They're going to the bin.
Okay, going into the bin.
That's why you asked me to record.
So I could shop.
Everything first. Got it.
Got it. We have, let's see, oh, more. Okay, see here, another thing. This is another texture kind of thing.
Those. I use a lot.
Right?
Yes.
These are really great.
Textures and designs.
Textures, look at that. Oh my gosh. This table, 25 cents to $3. So more things than you can shake a stick at. Look at that. There's another little metal thing that we might be able to use as a kiln carving thing. Right? To melt a little thank you right into it.
Found a shiny thing.
Found a shiny thing.
Did you see this?
No.
Did you watch this movie?
Ah,
Huh?
that's hilarious.
I don't speak French.
And there we go. Okay, I'm gonna try this too.
Cool.
Okay.
Now tell me one thing. So you got a bunch of stuff. Now I
got a bunch of stuff.
I come to the same place and I don't find anything. So look what she found. What's that?
Those are embossing plates. So you so you can emboss copper sheets or aluminum sheets on there. No, well, anything, but they're plastic, so you have to use a soft metal. You could use brass too. Oh, only these two sheets. Are there any more of these?
Looking.
Okay.
So when we get to a place like this, I think there is a mindset thing that you have that I'm missing.
That you're missing?
So you go into a place full of boxes full of stuff, and what is that?
I don't know.
It looks cool, whatever it is.
It's hole punching and setting eyelets and rivets.
Okay.
Huh.
For fiber people, that's great.
Well, not just fiber. Do you remember we did rivets in the aluminum sheets too? So we don't know if it will work on aluminum, but it's always worth a shot for your pumpkins. So you're asking me how can I look at these things and decide that maybe I could use it, right?
Yes.
Stand back when shopping goes bad. So part of it is I guess part of it is you have to be willing to just take a risk and sort of explore what the options are. And some of it is you have to be willing to fail, right? Like I can try one of these things. I can try those little stainless, like this thing, and it might work. But of course, I'm not going to try it on a fantastic piece of art first. I'm going to throw it in the corner and test it and just see what will happen. And if it works, woohoo! And if not, it was a buck. Right, I'm willing to, and so I do lose some money every now and then when things don't work, but it all comes out pretty good in the end because I can find some really good deals really good deals on some of this other stuff.
How often do you thrift shop?
About once a week. I usually or more depending, but I try and go once a week. We are within good distance of 3 of Clever Octopus and 2 regular thrift stores, and so I try and hit all 3 of them once a week. And sometimes I get absolutely nothing, but sometimes we went yesterday, oh my gosh, we spent so much money. So when I say that, a lot of money for me is $50 is like That's a ridiculous amount of money at a thrift store.
Yeah.
So
We found a bunch of black glass plates.
we did. We found 13 gray plates and 8 black plates, and so
You know, there's cool stuff.
yeah. But sometimes we find nothing.
So, any final advice for people that want to go thrift shopping for their art?
For their art, well, keep an open mind, and every time you go, try and buy one thing that you haven't tried before and try it in your art, just on a test piece, and see what happens. And take good notes. I take pictures of everything with my phone. I have a digital camera I keep in the shop. Just because also the failures are also pretty fascinating, not just the successes.
So do you think, do you do due diligence in every time you try? Do you write that down and keep a record? So that's just a healthy habit.
Right, like for example, I bought a bag of gold powder the last time I was at the Clever Octopus at their other location, not the warehouse sale, and I thought it was gold mica. I was super excited, so I mixed some up and I did a little test, and it was not. So now
we have a cool bag of sparkly
right,
gold
I have
powder.
a sparkly
Totally
gold
gonna
powder.
use for
This is
other things.
Logan, by the way.
Hi.
So we have, I have a container of it with the test in it, and they're all labeled. Like, this is the test, this is the powder, this is where it came from, this is how I fired it.
Yes.
And I keep it all together, so if I forget what it is, I can just take the top off and go, oh yeah, it's that. And as it turns out, it's embossing powder, so it is a stamping product that it's for scrapbooking. You put it on something and then you heat it, and the powder melts into a solid gold coating. So I'm going to try it on concrete and try it on stands and see if I can use it a different way. Yeah.
Awesome.
So.
Well, thank you. I'm going to end this so I can get something before you
Right,
take everything.
I know. I'm worried that you're going to steal my fur coat, man.
Not if I get there
Thank you
first.
so Well, much. we'll See you in figure the a next way. class.
All right, see ya.
Mom, do you actually?
That's funny. And you introduced your keto to everybody.
Right?
It's impressive, Jodi, because again, we were just saying, I see a bunch of bags and boxes that you treasure. Penny's asking, Jodi, have they moved since you told me about them a few years ago, or is this a special sale? I love their little store, packed to the brim. That's true. It's always very packed.
They do have a new, bigger store. It's actually less than a mile from my studio.
Oh, dangerous.
Yeah. That did not in any way play into my renting
No.
no.
But if you don't find Jodi at her studio, you know where she is.
Yeah. Yes, I have spent an inordinate amount of money there.
Yeah, yeah.
But yes.
Cool.
Yep, fun
Very
stuff.
cool. That's a class on how to find treasures in thrift stores.
I keep threatening to do like guided thrift store shopping trips. So,
Right.
you know.
And those reuse stores now, they're in most cities, right? I mean, they started in California a few years ago. I think Utah was actually the second or the first state besides California to have one. But now you find them in other places.
Yeah, Habitat for Humanity runs one for
the
building
restore.
supplies,
Uh-huh.
so I go to that one a lot too.
They're nice. I like them too. Those
Not
I like.
nice.
Well,
But they're cool.
if I need a door, I know
Yeah.
there will be a door there. It's
true.
not packed in some weird place. But yeah.
The one we have here downtown is just, I walk in it and I go, oh my gosh, how does this,
Yeah.
it's a mess. You think, right? It is anyway,
Well,
but good stuff.
this has been fun. It's not over yet, by the way. We have an interview to show, but you're going to be leaving because, again, very, very
Yes, I
busy week.
am. Oh, it is a very busy week.
Yeah, besides everything that we have to do, there is a studio tour in town that we are both participating. Tell me more about it. I know everything about it. I'm participating.
Right.
But so Curious Mondo will have the tour here at the studios with 5 artists, and you and Cheryl Peterson,
Cheryl
right?
Peterson and Logan and I, and you met Logan in that last video, we are all going to be at my studio. So it's the Utah Arts Festival is a nonprofit that runs our arts festival every summer, and they've organized a statewide open studio. So there are a couple of people in St. George and I think a couple of people north, but it's primarily in the Salt Lake area. And there's a little app, and so you can get on your phone and it will show you where all the artists are, and you can scan the little code when you visit them and win fabulous prizes
And see art and
see
talk to the
art and talk
artists.
to the artists. So we'll be open Friday night. We're doing the Friday,
Okay.
and then all day Saturday and all day Sunday.
We are doing Saturday and Sunday. And how do they find the addresses? Do they have a way to do that?
Yeah, there's an app.
There's an app. Well,
yeah.
I'll tell my address, you tell yours.
You're
So
right.
it's going to go from what time to what time? That's how in I am.
That's how in your
I know it's Saturday and Sunday. That's a
Friday
good
from
thing.
6 to 9, and then Saturday and Sunday from 10 to 6.
10 to 6. And your address is?
82 West Louise Avenue, which is 28-ish south, 2800 south, and West Temple.
Very good.
So-
And ours is 1925 West Parkway Boulevard, West Valley City. And
which
we
is
are going
right
to
off
be
of Redwood. So
yeah, we're really close actually. It's
Yeah,
less
we
than
are.
5 minutes. And we are going to be here Friday. No, not Friday. Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah.
And we'll have a 360 video machine for everybody to have
I know
fun.
here's the downside of this.
What?
We have to be here, so we don't get to go do all the fun things
Yeah,
that
that's
other
true.
people have.
No. Well, that's my life.
I know, because I looked at the list and I was like, I'd really like to go see some of these people. And
Yeah, yeah.
But-
Well, any final words? I think we have inspired people. We have scared them a little bit
no.
and made them laugh, hopefully. Any final words?
Well, so I got a message after the last class, and I cannot remember who on Facebook who sent it, but she said, your words about trusting yourself and trusting your instincts and keeping on were really inspiring. And I think that's something that we don't do enough. We need to trust ourselves, trust our instincts, and celebrate all of the wins, not just the big ones. Celebrate the little wins too.
Yeah, you know, I have a new habit now that I don't remember who I got it from, but I have kind of a journal. But what I do, I soon realize I don't have time to write in the journal every day.
Right.
But once a week, usually on Sundays, I write one page on everything I'm grateful for that happened that week. And I have learned that sometimes the challenges are things that you have to be grateful for.
Yeah.
We do live in very strange times, but that makes us more powerful, right? And more resilient.
Seriously, if anybody had have said, could you survive a global pandemic, you'd be like, oh,
And the
no.
post-pandemic, and the behavior that everybody changed after the pandemic, and then we don't know what's tomorrow. Living through these times, maybe it is a challenge, but at the same time shows you how powerful you really are, because the next day you're there and you're going to fight a good fight again.
Right.
Right. So, and I know you do that very well as well.
And I like to, when someone sends me something inspired, well, like occasionally someone will send me a thank you note out of the blue, and I put those up on my bulletin board.
We do too.
Yeah. And when you do that, and I've tried to become better at doing that myself, sending thank you notes to people who do, even if it's not somebody I know personally, and even if it's just an email, because those things do actually matter.
They do.
Yeah.
We actually print some emails because, as a business, of course, they say that if you're pleasing everybody, you're doing something wrong. Well, we leave that. So we sometimes have somebody mad at us, and that can destroy a whole day.
Yeah.
Right. But then we also have those that say you made a difference or this happened. So we print those to remind us on those bad days that what we do matters, and there are people benefiting from that. So I think that's a very good habit to have.
And when you get into a funk, which happens.
It happens.
And there are days when I just cannot. I just cannot. And that's when I bust out those emails.
Yeah.
And it does help.
Yeah.
It does help. You read a couple of those and you go, okay. And then you remember that any motion is forward motion, and you do one small thing.
Yes.
And once you get
And
that
keep
one
going.
small thing done, it becomes easier to do the next small thing and the next small thing. And then the next thing you know, you're
There, right? That's cool.
right.
Well, I hope Curious Mondo has impacted your success over the years. You're laughing. Okay, I can take laughs in different contests.
This is Hurricane Shahar here. I hope I've impacted your life in some way. You could say that.
Of course, you have impacted ours, and I know every time we have an idea and we are wondering if we can do it or not, you're always the first person I call, because you are an automatic yes, right, to things. But doesn't matter how crazy they are.
Times, yeah.
And so I'm very thankful for that, because you really, every time we think, would this work, would that work? And I say, Jodi, would you, even this, right? I said, we are going to do a different week. Would you come? Yes. Right, and that it's very good for us.
Okay, so I do have to say I've now started saying why, because Shahar will say, "Are you available on the 17th?" And I say, "For what?" I've gotten a little smarter.
Still here,
but I'm still here.
But another thing you did was introduce us to another glass artist that we have several courses with Serinda Jones. And a while ago, I don't remember how long ago, you did an interview with her, right? And that's what we are going to show you next, the interview that she did introducing Serinda. And they have very different styles, right?
Do. Yes,
but
indeed.
They both, you do more recycled glass, she does art glass more, right?
Yeah, she does exclusively art glass.
But it became a good partnership with us as well, right? So, and you know, I have an interview with Serinda, but everybody thinks Jodi does it better. So we are going to show, Jodi's going to leave now, so that's why we are saying goodbye, but you still will watch that interview. It's very fun, very informative, because, of course, two glass artists talking is very different than a glass artist and a non-glass artist, right? They can go into a different level of conversation, and I think you're going to enjoy that. Of course, Serinda courses are also on a discounted price, so you have until the end of the day to take advantage. I don't know if they can buy 37 courses from Jodi, and who knows how many Serinda has. You're going to have a lot to do. But, you know, holidays are coming. After all the excitement, it becomes boring, right? Those days between Christmas and New Year's, they're kind of...
You could say, oh, I can't go to the family party. I have to take a class.
Yeah. So you can keep watching all those, and you're going to have a lot of fun. And of course, it's always a way to support what we do and what the artist does. I think some people do think we do all this just because we love it, right? But
well, we do, but it also does, the idea is that it does contribute to our business and to our livelihood. So.
Yeah. So every time she thinks about all those bills, she's thinking, will Curious Mondo send me a check or not?
When I think about all those bills, I think, what can I do a class for about next?
Right? And I think, what kind of special event can I do? It's getting closer. Okay, enough. So watch the next interview with Jodi McRaney-Rusho and Serinda Jones, and I hope you enjoy it a lot. Take advantage of the offer as well. And don't forget to join us tomorrow with Karen Baker for more improv. Improv. Yeah, because she got here. So what are we going to talk about? And I said, I have no idea. But we will. And we did. Yes. So I hope you guys enjoy, and I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you very much.
I'm your host for today, Jodi McRaney-Rusho, and I am here with someone that I am so delighted to see and to share with you. I'm here with my friend Serinda Jones, and Serinda is a marvelous artist, and I just can't wait to let her tell you all about herself. But first, tell us one sentence about yourself, and then we'll look at some beautiful artwork.
One sentence about myself.
I know it's a challenge. I'll let you have more in a minute.
You didn't send it to me last night. I was hoping for like a little questionnaire so I would know what you were going to say.
Nope.
She knows me very well. So, one sentence about myself. I'm a maker.
That's perfect. Perfect. Yeah. So, Serinda does a lot of different kinds of artwork. It's one of the things I admire the most about her. Is that she is a diverse artist, but also maintains this incredibly tight focus, which is really cool. So one of the things that she does is paint, and we have one of your paintings here. So tell me just a little bit about this painting here.
So this is an alcohol ink painting, and it's done on a polypropylene paper, so it's a plastic kind of paper, and it allows the ink to be on the surface of the glass, or surface of the substrate. So, obviously, I'm talking about glass already.
But you do this kind of painting on glass as well.
You
Is that right?
can, you can, you
Okay.
can. But this is on the polypropylene paper.
Okay.
So it's a UPO paper is
Okay.
the product that I use. And I work really large, and then I cut it down. So it's kind of a fun way to like, well, so I, as a kid, used to take markers and paper towels, and I would kind of make blotches and stuff. You know what I mean?
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. So that actually is kind of funny because that whole concept reminds me of you, like creating large and then focusing right on like the center, the most important thing. And that really is sort of how you're painting, which is really cool. I didn't even know you did it that way.
Yeah.
But I have seen some of Serinda's larger paintings, and you also paint, we talked about this once, that you don't necessarily paint with brushes.
No, I
Right?
do use brushes.
Okay.
So I am definitely very abstract and loose. My background was in illustration, so very tight, and I found that I would never make the Mona Lisa. You know what I mean? So,
Right? Okay, get too
I
trapped
work
in the
a little,
details.
yeah, too trapped in the details. So I work very big and broad, and I use anything from like a credit card, you know? So putting paint on with a credit card and then taking it off, or using a sponge, or yeah, anything that's different. I like to use my fingers too.
Awesome. Best use for a credit card I've heard all day,
Right.
folks. You heard it here. Awesome. Great. So we have a guest from Idaho.
Oh.
Eureka Sally is saying hello from Idaho.
Well, hi.
Hi. And you are welcome to send your questions, and I can ask Serinda your
Yes.
questions as we go. If you don't send questions,
Be
she
kind,
has to
please.
answer my questions. Ha ha ha. Yay.
That
You
makes
see
me wiggle in my seat.
Right, a little bit, a little bit. So tell us just a little bit about what we're seeing here. Just let's start with this beautiful green piece. Tell us about this.
So this is a cellular bowl structure, and it's
Okay.
made out of kiln-formed glass. I use art glass, and bullseye is what I use. So these are definitely, I love science. So when you look at cellular structures, they're very interesting to me. So
They are.
It's a way for me to incorporate that
I'm
little bit
drawn
of
to that imagery
yeah.
as well.
These look lovely on the wall too.
Oh, that's an interesting idea.
the
that
shadows.
whole- yes, moving things from a horizontal surface to a vertical surface. Awesome. So Serinda is also quite involved in the community and has done a number of public art projects. So tell us just a minute about what is your favorite public art project you've done, and then we'll have some pictures of public art, but we'll show those in just a second.
My favorite. That's hard to say, really.
Well, tell us what do you like about
So,
public art?
Public art is, for me, an amazing way to expose people, the public, where they wouldn't normally be able to see art.
Okay, so we're gonna make them see art whether they want to.
Yes, of course.
Awesome.
Here you go. Here's my art.
Or not. Okay, so let me ask you about. I know you've done a number of these projects of
Yes.
public art, and in a number of different spaces. I know you have. Recently, just in the last little
Right.
bit, there's been, I know, one in a fire station. There's
Locally
been
here in
one
Utah.
in a pocket park.
Yes,
Downtown.
in Salt Lake.
And there's also one by your studio, which is
Yeah,
in
so in Art Space,
in Art Space.
here in Utah, it's a really great community. And there's these gardens that are right outside my studio, which, of course, I have a garden there.
Awesome.
Yay. So there's a sculpture that is called Leverage. It's a very tall piece, and it has 4 different colors there. It was a piece that kind of gave me leverage to get into my studio space.
Nice, very nice, very nice. So I think we have some pictures of some public art pieces that Serinda has
Yeah.
made. All right, so tell us about this one here.
This one is at the Sugar House Fire Station here in Utah. This was an amazing project that I worked with the firefighters. So each firefighter from the station created one of the discs. So they're enmeshed inside the large sculpture, and they're 9-inch discs, and there's about 300 of them.
Goodness, and I can see that they go across a wall and around a
Around
corner. And
and
tell
then
us
up.
about the imagery that you're creating here with this, and
So-
sort of where that came from, because I know that it has a little bit of a background
It
story,
does have a
too.
bit of background. It is called Parley's Undercurrent. So there's a Parley's Creek that runs through the space adjacent to the fire station, pretty close. So one of the requests that the firefighters asked for was peace and serenity. So as I went to the park, I walked through and found the Parley's Creek. And so this is the inspiration that came from the meandering path and bridging the bottom lobby to the community room upstairs.
Nice. So that's a very beautiful meandering pathway of glass.
Yes.
So
I have a fear of heights, by the way.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. And there
So-
you are on the scaffolding.
Uh-huh.
Good job
Yeah.
being brave.
Yeah,
with all
I-
those
the girl
firemen
panties
around.
on. Yeah, for sure.
That's wonderful. And one of the things I really love about that piece is the way that you've created this enormous reflection of something that enables these people to do their job.
Yeah,
And
it's a hard job for sure.
It is. And I love that you've incorporated that. I think that's fantastic.
Thank you.
So tell me now about this little guy right here. And I'm just seeing the back of him from this angle, and
Right.
I love this.
Oh, it is called, this technique that I created is called transpired. And so it transpired out of using my scrap materials. So
Very nice. I'm all about
this is-
scrap materials.
I know you are. It's good. So it's kind of funny that I created this technique to use with scrap. It is my most commissioned work.
Oh, isn't that
still,
funny?
After 20 years.
It's funny how that works out, and
Yeah.
that is not the first time I've heard an artist say something like that.
Right.
That it's sort of that spinning out, looking, going, okay, how do I solve a problem,
Right.
and what does it turn into?
And it started, anybody remember Light Bright?
Yes,
Remember?
I
Yes? Okay, so this reminds me of playing with little pegs.
Awesome. So we do have a question that is
Oh, yeah.
asking how Serinda got started in glass. So tell us how long you've been working with glass, and then a little bit about how you ended up in this fragile field.
It is fragile. It's kind of a funny story. In a previous life, I was in the salon industry.
Okay.
So I held hands for a living for about 17 years. And
So therapist.
yeah. You'll have to talk to my clients on that one.
Someone. Okay.
Yeah, anyway, seriously, but there was this wonderful little antique store, and they had these glass marbles there. And so every chance I got, my clients can attest to this, I would find myself there purchasing these marbles.
Awesome.
And there is a joke to that. Do you remember? Yeah.
Because you're finding your marbles.
Finally, one at a time. So,
No question how they got lost.
yeah, right. So anyway, it was glass marbles that kind of turned me on to
Nice.
glass.
And then where did you go from there?
Well,
What was your first glass experience?
my first glass experience is a friend that we both have still. Her name is Cynthia Oliver.
Oh, yes, indeed.
Yeah, so
in fact, Vera, if you are familiar at all with Vera, Cynthia
Vera.
Oliver was Vera's real mom. I'm her adopted mom.
She has both very good moms, and I've used her before.
Yes.
Yeah. So I was going through a divorce, and I was looking for glass, and I knocked on Cynthia Oliver's door, studio door, and asked her if she could teach me. She was a little bit reluctant, but I think we did 2 classes, and I was like hooked. I was excited. I took her and her husband to Del Chihuly, this was 2002 for the Olympics, and so I took her and her husband to a book signing by him.
Oh, nice.
And I naively asked, where someone like me would go to learn about it. And obviously he has a school called Pilchuck Glass School. I applied and like the planets aligned. That's my first application to a school of that nature, as well as my art space. I applied to get in there. So when I received both, like it was within 2 weeks.
Oh, wow.
So like planets just kind of aligned. I went to Pilchuck.
The message was clear.
It was very clear. And I came home and applied for a small business loan. And yeah.
Marvelous. This is a beautiful, beautiful story, not just of glass, but also of female business success. And I love that, women-owned business success. That's terrific. So I do have a couple of questions here.
Get me off the hook with your questions.
Right. Okay, totally random question. I love Serinda's name. Is there a story behind it?
There is. It's 2 great-grandmothers, Sarah and Linda.
Awesome.
And just squished.
And Sally says it sounds like it should mean beautiful Sarah, which somewhat, right? Sarah Linda.
There is a spider named Serinda.
Is there?
There is. You'll have to look that up.
Oh, how funny.
They're funny.
When did you learn it?
Well, you have to Google.
I guess. I remember when there was no Google, which is how
Right, I
old we
remember
are,
that too,
right?
yes.
Okay, so Mary has a question. Really
Sure.
curious to know how you got a commission from a fire department.
Oh,
And
so
then there is another question about a commission in a park, and where do you apply for that? So talk to us a little bit more about public art and commission work.
Public art, the city or state usually has like a museum and arts department where you can apply for RFQs and RFPs.
So what is RFQ and RFP?
Well,
Just
a
for
request
people who
for like a query, like just of past work, or an actual proposal.
Okay.
So then you apply, and there's usually your local arts community should have a website for public art, so you can Google that, and then you do a proposal. For this particular piece, I did an RFQ, which was a query, and I'm not sure how many people applied. I think there was quite a few. And then they brought me in to actually do a proposal, one of 3 people. So I was shortlisted, and then you do a proposal, and hopefully all goes well.
And so this is maybe not off topic, but let me ask you, how many times have you applied for one of these and received it versus how many times have you applied and not received it? I just want people to understand that this is actually a very ongoing process that you have to try again and again.
I have a stack of letters that are not, yes, we would love to have you. So there's that.
Fair enough.
And I keep every one of them, and I look through them. But in all honesty, I probably put out at least 2 a quarter.
Okay.
Yep.
Just
So
consistently.
Consistently, I just find.
Very nice. Okay. And then I also know that you have had commissions from companies as well for
That's
their
correct.
corporate offices. And is the process for that different?
It is different. They usually use an art dealer, so kind of a third-party entity.
Okay, so rather than you going and finding it, they come and find you?
Correct, but I do have my website, and I do have different places that I have my work that they can peruse and see if I'm a good fit.
Okay, so there's some, they need the ability to preview and to preview your work.
Yes.
So you really do have to have some sort of structure in place.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it is
You
not
have
people
to-
just walking in off the street and finding you
No,
because you're a genius. And that
I
would
wish
be
they would
lovely.
just knock on my door and.
Right. So just a quick reminder that you can watch this podcast on any platform, including Spotify, and we would love for you to join us on your favorite one. Before we get into the next batch of questions, make sure that you have liked and shared and commented and all
Yes,
that stuff,
please.
because we love to have Serinda here. We do have another question. Do you send proposals for out of state too, or just in Utah?
No, out of state. Most
As
of my
well.
work, the fire station was the biggest commission that I've done in Utah.
And it was sizable. It was a very nice
project. And then Eureka Sally, who asked about your name, says, beautiful story, beautiful woman, beautiful work, right? Are you guys not glad that I brought her here? Is she not amazing?
I am going to be blushing now.
I know. And she says, Serinda's alcohol painting and the cellular glass bowl structure have a lovely interplay. Of course, her vision ties together all her works. Awesome installation, too. And that is very true. Her vision does tie together across all of her different media. And speaking of, we also have over here in the front, what do we have here?
On the mannequin.
Right
so
here.
these are silk scarves, and I am doing a class for.
We'll talk about the class
Okay,
later.
sorry.
That's
Oops.
okay. Tell us about how, and I'm very curious how this works with this, because there is definitely, if you look across here, you can see we have this color story that ties across all three pieces, 3 different media in 3 different pieces. And tell us how that related to the process of creating all of these. How did you end up there?
With silk scarves? Well, again, it came from that napkin and using markers. I like color a lot, and I like working with different materials. So glass is a very structured, rigid material. Obviously, it's melty too.
Sometimes.
But sometimes, if you do it right. Hopefully. And the silk, I'm also a knitter and a crocheter. I do that for me. And so silk is nice and like squishy. I like playing with it.
That, folks, is a technical term.
Yeah, squishy.
For fiber artists everywhere.
Sorry.
It is. No, we do. We have these insider words that we use in every medium, and it's almost, it's not a code word, but it's almost a word of affection that we use for different things. And so squishy is a term that I also hear in regards to yarn.
Yeah.
Because my child is also a fiber person, so I do hear that as well. Now we have some more pictures of Serinda's work that we want to show you here. All right. Oh, and so here is some more cellular bowls. So let's talk some more about that. Tell us a little bit about how, not it's super in depth about the process, but like what, do you look at reference material while you're doing these? Or do you have a picture in mind, or is it something that you create as you go?
I create as I go. I'm very kind of on the spot type of person. I do have templates that I do use if I'm creating larger pieces and multiples that need to look the same. But honestly, these are just willy-nilly. And that's kind of fun for me. It's that each one is one of a kind.
Nice. I love these ones here that are multiple pieces together.
Yeah.
I think they work very well in a group like this.
So I don't know if you've seen Radularians. They're little structures. They're little, teeny tiny.
Yes.
So if you look at that, that's where this is coming from.
Oh, okay.
So
Gotcha.
Radularians.
Yes. And they're sea creatures, aren't they? Microscopic, silica-based sea.
Silica.
Yes, haha. And Mary says, fiber and glass, how interesting. She does all sorts of things. You just wait. You mentioned needing to sometimes make things that looked like each other, which, explain that a little bit. What scenario would you need to make things that look like each other?
Well, for example, if I'm doing a large project, I need to, and it's a commission base, accidents happen. And so if I was asked to recreate something, so I make a template, so I know exactly how I made it.
Perfect.
Very note-taking.
Right.
What colors I've used, such.
That is actually, I love hearing that because I'm a compulsive keeper of records.
Yes, you
as
are.
Well.
That's why I always go to her when I need something.
So, tell me a little bit about, because I'm not a public art person. I'm excessively introverted in real life situations. I'm only good on camera. But tell me a little bit about
your responsibilities to a public art project after the
huge.
project is finished. Like there's some ongoing responsibilities even after the end of the project.
Maintenance.
So what would that look like?
Say, for example, I do a piece and it's local, and rather than having someone come in and maintain it, I'm taking the Windex to it, if you
Okay,
will.
so for example, the
I
leverage
babysit it.
sculpture outside of your studio.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love it. Talk to it nice every day.
Perfect. And so this is a part of the planning process, though, right?
It is, for
And
sure.
So for pieces that are out of state, do you make recommendations?
I do.
For that,
I do.
for maintenance and that type of things. Okay.
Yeah.
I think that is fascinating. Sally Mason asks, is the glass work with the 3 pieces all fused together? And that's
in this
here.
one? If I don't knock it over. Nope, they're all
No, it's not.
stacked.
But they could
They
be.
could be, technically,
Okay.
or they could be sandwiched with, if, say, we're doing a wall mount, they can be, there's a product that I use that is hardware, basically.
Okay.
So, yeah.
For hanging purposes. So
yeah,
it's
so
not like
you can stack them deep.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so you don't have to just pound a nail into the wall and hope for the best.
I would hope not.
We'd hope hard, in fact. So Sheila says, many teachers are natural introverts except in their classroom. Sheila's one of my favorite people. I'm so happy to share Serinda with you, Sheila, because I think that you're going to love her. The camera gives you access to your classroom. That is true, actually.
I do like that. I love teaching. It's important to me, passing the torch. So I like people. That's a good thing when you're a teacher, right?
I've heard.
Yeah. You like people too.
I do like people. I just like to pretend like I'm all cranky and you know, gruff. I'm like the Billy Goat gruff, but not really. Okay. So let me ask you about, I make a little bit, I'm not a huge person that enjoys making jewelry. I love to make beads. And then when I sit down to make the actual jewelry,
It's laborious.
mostly the bore part. But I know you actually make a lot, and we have a piece here. It is lovely, and I know that you call these wearable sculpture, and I think that's fantastic because it is wearable sculpture. It's this beautiful little complex piece. So tell us a little bit about the process and how you make the laborious less laborious, or at least enjoyable.
Color, again, arranging
Okay.
color. These, someone
Now,
at...
can you tip that? I'd like to see if we can give people a side view of that so they can see the layers in there. Because it is really a complex piece for it being so
is.
small. It's got a lot going on.
So I was at the Utah Arts Festival this year, and a woman came through, and she's like, these are like square marbles. I looked at her, I'm like, yeah. What do you say to that?
That's funny.
That is
actually.
funny. Yeah,
That
that's
is
where it all
funny.
started for me.
And
so.
there, right?
Yeah.
You came all the way back to the beginning and
Well, she did. I did
didn't
not.
even know it.
Yeah.
Right. That's funny.
So-
it's funny that that's where her brain led her.
Right, and that, I hadn't caught on to it until she said it. But it's the layering. It's, again, using my scrap materials to make a new product. I do these in large slabs of glass. Then I take a tile saw and cut them up and then bevel, so I grind them. That's the laborious part.
Yes, it is.
But it's...
But it's at times it actually has its place.
It
because
does.
It keeps my squirrel busy so that I can actually do
I problem
something
solve.
else. Yes.
So, when your hands are busy and working like that, I'm thinking about my master plan.
Right.
Right? Yeah.
Scheming.
Yes.
Your plan for world domination.
Of art.
Exactly. So, I'm not sure if you noticed what you just said, but when you're describing your necklace, it was almost exactly the same words you used as when you were describing your painting.
It's a crossover.
It is
Everything.
a crossover, and I love that. I love that it weaves together back and forth and creates this amazing whole of things.
Let me see if we
You
have
have
any.
more
Oh, no,
questions?
we just my questions.
Oh,
Woohoo!
great. Come on, guys.
Right. So tell me a little bit more. I know that you actually have done a lot of glass classes. That you've taken classes,
yes.
right? And I think it's very interesting because I have taken no classes, and you have taken many classes, and it really informs both of our work. I tend to go off in the field, in the weeds.
I do that too.
You do that too.
I do.
I know you do that too, and we often do it together. In fact,
That's the fun part.
Yes, which is
The master plan.
But I have recently started taking classes, which is a new thing for me. And I did not understand why people do that. And then I took one, and it's because it's fun. It's fun. It is.
It's like a retreat.
I didn't know that. So tell me about a class that you've taken that not necessarily was your favorite, but the one that you felt like really
Challenge?
turned things for you, that really just gave you that, like,
that's a good question.
Holy cow, right? That thing that was the absolute shock in your art practice.
You know, that was when I went to Scotland. I was with Steve Klein and Richard Parrish, and they did a residency at Northlands Creative in Scotland, and that's in Leicester, so it's the very tippy top of Scotland. I have Scottish background, history, so for me, going there was like all of a sudden I saw everyone that kind of looked like me, right? And it was a weird experience. Weird, good. I felt familiar. It felt
strange at
the same time. It was lovely. And the two instructors are amazing. They both have been mentors of mine for a long time, which I'm grateful to. And you know, I love the ocean. I mean, all the sea structures and that kind of thing. Really, and it's peaceful there. Yeah. So I think that was the turnaround for me, working differently.
Awesome. I remember pictures from that
Yeah.
residency.
I need to go back.
It was pretty impressive. Sheila says, I have had the occasional accident at a show, and the cause of the accident is often mortified. I will reassure them there is no such thing as scrap glass. That is true. What is it people say? Don't refuse to refuse.
My bucket, my bone pile is what I call. Yeah,
Right.
it's kind of treasured.
A little bit. Do
Because
you
it's
ever go
the
back
mistakes
through it
and
find something.
Yeah, of course. And, well, they're not
and
really,
it triggers a new, different direction.
Yeah, it makes me wander off for sure. Cleaning the studio does that too,
Yes,
in a good way.
it does. I'm having a.
You just recently cleaned yours.
Yeah. And then I taught a class, and that was that. So,
Yay.
I'm having a little focus issue with my own studio at the moment. So, but I think we have a couple more pictures I'd like to share with you here. And tell us about this.
So this is a trip.
Tell us how big this is. This thing is enormous.
It is enormous for glass. It is, well, so each panel is 3 feet tall and a foot wide.
Okay.
And then this is a detail, we're getting to the detail shot, but it's powdered glass, so sheet glass, powdered glass, and it is kind of cool. Again, it's
kind of cool.
Technique, you know what
Okay.
I mean? It's
Gotcha.
kind of cool to play.
I'm looking at it, and it looks very cool to me.
And it's the same thing with the ink and the fiber and working in
Right.
that way and kind
Okay.
of fusing water.
Wonderful. So let's look at the next picture too, because I love this one.
Okay.
Tell us about this one. And if I remember right, this was from earlier.
Yeah, it was
This
one
was
of
an
my
early
earlier
piece.
pieces. This is called DNA. So again, back to the science thing. It's a common denominator for me, but DNA is your strands of DNA. So this is no one in particular. It was fun and creative. So
Marvelous. Okay. So I know that you have done some commission work for public health programs. This is a picture here, and I particularly love this one. This one was called
Pins and Needles.
I remember.
Yeah, so this piece was inspired by my son's early stay at a hospital. He had staphylococcus in his bloodstream, and so we're lucky to have him still. And so this piece was very much a release of the pins and needles that we were on, you know, and dealing with that. So,
Yes, because once you have a kid,
wow, yeah.
right? Sheila says, I cannot imagine having the kiln big enough to do that piece.
Oh, I want a bigger one. I want Vera size.
Right, exactly, exactly. What's funny about that is I just bought a smaller kiln.
Did you?
I did, a 26-inch round one, because it's a lot of work to fill a gigantic kiln.
It is. I like having little Sparky.
Yes.
That was my first kiln that I purchased, and it's a Paragon, and it's an oval shape, or not
Right.
oval, but round-ish.
I'm sure it's very similar.
Yeah.
And I was going to ask you a question about it. I can't remember how many years it's been because we've known each other for a very long time.
Yeah.
But there was the, and I'm trying to now, I've lost the name of it, where you were a finalist, the Niche Awards. Tell us about those.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
That has been a while.
That has 2010, I think. Yeah.
I remember that things happen in the winter, but which winter is a little fuzzy.
Right. So the Niche Award is a really cool award. It was 2010. I submitted, I believe, DNA. Yeah.
That's what reminded me of it.
Yeah. Good. See, you even remember more about me than I remember about me. Doesn't get. It's blurry. Anyway, yes.
So tell us about what are the Niche Awards for people who haven't heard of those?
Well, so do you know what they are?
I cannot remember who runs them, but
I do not remember who runs them
it's
either.
an award. They're awards for the best art in particular categories, and you can apply in different categories. It is a nationwide, possibly even international. Is it?
It might be international now. I'm not sure.
And it's extremely prestigious. So it was a huge honor for little old Utah to have you in the, and you were a finalist, is that right? Which was which is like the top tiny handful of amazing artists in the category. It was a really amazing thing.
It was amazing. I was shocked at that time because I hadn't been doing glass for very long, and so it felt like I was. How do I explain it? I was reaching further than like my comfort zone. I was really going out of my way.
And that was my next question: is how did that feel, and how did you get over that?
I don't think you do.
You just do it.
You just every time I do a public art project, it's kind of I get nervous. I'm like, oh, is it gonna, yeah.
Right, me too.
Yeah.
And do you have any strategies to share with us?
Strategies.
Right, like, do you ever distract yourself with some other issue and then just...
Like the dog run, you mean? Like, yeah. She knows me well.
I do it too.
Yeah, so I do. Again, I will work on... If I'm having a challenge in glass, I will free up and work with paint because it's a fluid, and or I'll work with scarves, something that helps me kind of get, because you get structure and rigid with yourself, and that's never good. You got to keep the flow.
That's very true.
Yeah,
that's very true. And when I get stuck, I dig holes in things, or my yard is a mess.
I know.
You know
right.
what my yard looks like. It looks like there were landmines in it. But the other thing that I do is I sort very small things. So when I get to that point, I sort tiny, tiny beads into color categories.
Oh, I have a whole, if you ever need, I have
well,
some jewelry
might,
bits with your name on it.
Because I've just finished sorting all of the beads that I have handy. So Mary asks, what was the piece that made you a finalist? And if we could roll back a couple pieces to it was 3 sculptural pieces with stripes, with horizontal stripes. It's titled DNA. I don't know what the file name is. And show, nope. 3 vertical pieces. So while they're looking for that piece,
Gretchen Peterson says we always want a bigger kiln. We always want something.
Yes.
Right? So tell us a little bit. You were in, so I still work in my home studio, and you referenced me cleaning it, which doesn't really do much good. It means I just shove all of everything into the corners. But you have been, for almost as long as I've known you, you've been in a commercial studio space. And
For most of the
for a little minute there, you were working in
my garage, and that was when Mason, my son, was small.
Yes, which the flexibility is awesome,
Right.
right? To have that as an artist, to have that flexibility is terrific. But tell me a little bit about, I feel like when you move into a commercial space, there is this fundamental shift in mindset as an artist. And what does that feel like to go from, like, how did that change the way you do art, to be in a commercial space versus just in your back bedroom?
It's a business.
So it was, so many of us start out as hobbyists, and you, this is the thing that impresses me here, is that you went to Pilchuck and you came back and you took out a loan, and it was immediately a business.
Yes.
And so many of us,
Well,
myself included,
I have a habit to pay for.
Right, to pay for. But and so many people, including myself, we start out and we go, oh well, eventually we'll get to what point
Right.
that it becomes a business. And
It took a while. I mean, so again, holding hands fed the habit for quite some time.
so there was some transition time.
Of course, always. It
Right.
wasn't just like magic
Hi,
wand.
here's my
and-
sign.
Yeah, and welcome.
Come on in.
Yeah. So
Okay, so we have found the DNA piece. So Mary,
yeah.
this is for you. This is the piece that was in the Niche Award finalist that Serinda received. And tell us how big this is.
So
It's hard to tell just from this picture. So.
Right. I would love to do this large scale, but these are tabletop pieces. The tallest piece I think is 22 inches, and I think the width was 5 inches.
Okay.
And they're almost a half-inch thick.
Nice.
Each piece, so you can see how they kind of stagger down. But what I love, the interplay of the crossover of the lines when they're stacked like that.
Because they begin to talk to each other.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So we have another piece here of yours that's sculptural, and it's this beautiful piece here. Tell me about this. I know that you did a whole series of cast pieces.
Yes.
And tell me about those.
So this was done, this body of work is called Exhale. And so it was when my mother passed away in 2008. And she passed with COPD, which is a lung issue. So this particular piece represents healthy lung tissue. Again, back to
The science.
the science and the emotion of it all. So it's cast, I would say that's about 1.5 inches thick.
Yeah, it is quite thick.
I love casting. I think it's,
Talk to me about this part.
so that's the lung tissue.
right. And how do you?
So radiolarians, they are a C structure, so they're small and microscopic, but they also have, what are they called? They're like, you can find them at like Michael's in their little...
the sea sponge thing.
Yes, that's it.
Loofah kind of deals.
things.
Right, sea
Yeah.
sponge. Okay.
So when I was making the mold for this, I would impress that sea sponge into clay, in which,
Marvelous. Okay, so you
multi-layered.
I love this that you are tying not just your artwork to the theme, but the materials that you're using. Even though people never see that sea sponge,
No.
it still informs the whole vision,
Right,
Which is
and
great.
And the funnest part for me is to take the clay and like, well, what does this shape make? And what is this going to do? So
I quite enjoy that part of it too. Very nice. So we have a couple more pictures
And then I have some other questions to ask you. Okay, so this one we have here is, it looks like 2 pieces that have a slight curve, and so tell us about this sculptural piece.
It's called It Is. Simple enough.
Right.
So It Is made with Marini cane or pattern bars that I made, and then I took to the hot shop and pulled. So the center detail is that. And
there's a close-up of the center detail.
I really like how they flop over, and it's, microscopic and a bigger piece.
Right, so there's a little bit of surprise in there, like when they move in the kiln.
Yeah,
it is really cool.
Yeah, I love it.
And here's another piece from coming up here, from the Exhale series. Do you remember the name of this one?
They're all called Exhale.
Oh, right.
And then,
yes,
they were just numbered.
I remember them when they were shown at
Finch Lane.
The Art Barn. Right, very nice. Nancy says, what is the difference between a tool and a toy?
There is no difference. Oh.
A couple letters.
It's funny.
Yes, she is actually. And she says, I liked the pink piece when I first saw it. Now that I've heard the backstory, I love it.
Oh, thank you.
And it is the story that makes it for us. So we actually have some pretty exciting news. And you have some classes coming up.
I do.
Some online classes. How exciting. I think this is super exciting.
To do it for a while.
So tell us about the classes that you'll be teaching. I do have the dates of your classes here.
Oh, look, you're prepared.
These are on Curious Mondo.
Yes.
And tell us about those.
So in class, I will be doing the cellular bowl structures, and I have a couple of surprises for you, bonus things that we'll play with. So yeah, it's kind of a fun way. I'm the willy-nilly of it.
The willy-nilly of it.
Hopefully.
And so tell us a little bit, would you consider this a beginner level class?
The way I teach, everything's beginner. So
nice.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Of course.
All right, and that class will be February 17th, 18th, and 19th of 2020. And Serinda will be here at the Curious Mondo Studios teaching that class.
Yeah.
But you are also bringing your multimedia talents to us in another way. Tell us about the other class that we are looking forward to.
The silk scarves.
Marvelous.
I will be doing shibori and tie-dye and kind of mixing it up with my own little things.
Twist on things.
It's kind of like that paper towel thing. So we'll play with that. But silk.
Will there be actual paper towels and markers?
Well, if we make a mess.
All right. Well,
Not
if you're
markers.
anything like me, there will be a mess. I am
It's the best thing.
Right, I'm like Pigpen. They're behind me is this mess. It follows me wherever we go. And the silk scarf class will be March 16th, 17th, and 18th.
So February and March.
2020. Yeah. We've got her lined up and busy already.
Yay.
How exciting is that?
I'm very excited.
And so tell us what new thing you have coming up in your art world. What is the next thing that you do here?
Ooh, the next thing in my world, well, right now I'm working on a home commission in Park City, Utah. So I'm busy doing a transpired piece.
Awesome.
And it's going to be 9 feet tall.
Wow.
And 3 panels.
So
multiples.
I was going to say, will they be separate panels?
Yeah.
9 feet is a lot to install all at once.
It is, and I have an installer this time.
Awesome. I know. It's the little things in our business
is.
that just make it so awesome. That's great. And then what do you do in terms of, do you do any Christmas things?
Oh, holiday things. Yeah, I'm going to be doing the JCC here locally. I'm going to be doing that craft show. I'm waiting to hear back on a few others.
Nice.
So yeah. And then teaching a lot.
Teaching a lot. We love that part. All right. Well, thank you for being with us today. This is Serinda Jones, and you can see more of her work at serindajones.com. She has a lovely website. You should check that out. I'm Jodi McRaney-Rusho, and we'll see you next time.